What up, what up, what up? New York Giant Nation and football fans and sports fans all over the world. It's your boy Mac the Giants fan with his co-host, super dope co-host, NYG Jeffy T, 3285, Adam Costas. Other co-host Zion Zenith is having some issues he's got to deal with, so he may jump in later on and join us for a little bit, or he might have to miss out this week. But this is Premium Takes, and it's getting ready to be lit. Let's go, baby.
The four horsemen ride into YouTube. Although today we're one man short, but that's all right. He's here with us in spirit. We're the four horsemen of YouTube. We're taking it over. Premium Takes.
Welcome to Premium Takes, everybody. We got a lot of great topics for you. The four horsemen are in the building.
Now it's time to ride. Let's go. We're going to start off this week's episode with the WWE.
Woo!
And first things first, man, we got Asuka return to Monday Night Raw, man. It was a surprise appearance. I didn't see it coming. I had no idea that it was happening, man. But she showed up, confronted Becky Lynch, and she was the same old Asuka, man. Came out there, and she's all about business, man. How do y'all feel about her return, and what do you think they got planned for her future?
Jeff?
I mean, it just seems like that they're going to have her feud again with Becky Lynch and maybe have her continue what they weren't able to do after Becky Lynch went away when she was pregnant with her first child. So they're going to maybe try to continue that feud going on. I don't know how I feel about Asuka coming back as the same exact character as she was when she left. I figured they maybe come out with a little bit of an alteration to her character, a little bit more serious. But I mean, it's always great to have Asuka come back onto the screen because she's still one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And I think her and Becky, the program might not be as great, but I think they're going to tear down the house when it comes to the in-ring stuff. So, I mean, it's just great to have Asuka back on TV. I mean, I'm glad in a way they're continuing what they left off of a couple of years ago with her and Becky Lynch. So I couldn't be any more pleased to see Asuka back on TV.
And I agree with you. I thought, like Max said, first off, a surprise that it was welcomed. Okay, not some lame random person from back in the day. Asuka, she deserves to be at the top of the card. She's earned her stripes. Always loved her. Still do love her. Think they're going to squash her again and give her a dumb feud, as they always do, because they seem to always kill Asuka that way. So hopefully she'll get some run. Hopefully Becky Lynch, if she beats her at whatever match they fight at, can push her, propel her to the next level, and maybe we'll see her fighting Bianca Belair at some point down the road, because I would like to see that.
Yeah, that would definitely be I'd definitely be welcome to seeing a little Asuka Bianca Belair feud get popping off. Speaking of Becky Lynch a little bit, man, that was a kind of odd thing. What are they doing? We think they're doing with her character right now. That was weird, that whole segment in the ring. She was almost like a female version of Happy Corbin when he was doing that down on his luck thing.
Man, I don't even know what to think about what they're doing with Becky Lynch right now. I mean, is she just having like that type of mental breakdown because of the fact that she lost the title to Bianca Belair, so they're just turning her character into like somebody that's just losing their mind, just like off kilter, like just out of balance right now because she's no longer the Raw Women's Champion anymore. So they're just going to have her sort of like go off the rails a little bit. And then you have somebody like Asuka with her personality and everything that's just going to make Becky Lynch lose her mind even more. And I mean, Asuka better come out on top in this feud. Becky Lynch, she don't need to win. Becky Lynch was the Raw Women's Champion for what? Almost about a year, more than a year. She doesn't need to be winning these feuds anymore. Asuka just came back from a long hiatus. I want to see Becky Lynch do the job, allow Asuka to get over, and get Asuka back into the position she was before. But yeah, this Becky Lynch character, I don't know how to feel about it, but I guess it's just somebody that's just going completely off the rails, like losing her mind slowly but surely because of her losing that Raw Women's Champion before to Bianca Belair. So she's just like a very unstable character right now.
I mean, I don't know if I like her direction, really, to be honest with you. I think her getting more and more deranged doesn't do anything for her character. I mean, she the whole. I like what they're. I take that back. I like somewhat of what they're doing because it's like, you know how a rock star falls from grace. You're seeing her fall from grace. Like, she was the top dog. Now she's not. They're playing it well. I just don't think, for me, I'm done with Becky Lynch. Like the champions we had, Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch. Give it to somebody else. I'm tired of looking at the same faces every day. Every week. There's no storyline. It's as if they can't be beaten. So I'm actually glad we're seeing Becky down the dumps. I wouldn't be surprised if they wrote her off screen completely and she takes a few months to relax and be a mom and do all that stuff, and then make some triumphant return at one of these pay-per-views down the road. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. I mean, I don't know what Becky Lynch can achieve. We've already seen Bianca and Becky go at it. So let a couple of these other women, rise up the card, and then we'll go from there.
I got a premium take for you guys right now. Do you think it's time for the 4 horsewomen, Charlotte, Bayley, Bianca, Becky, and Sasha, to just become more part-time stars right now, since they pretty much have all done it all? And then maybe they should sort of take a backseat, like be in some type of big program during the big pay-per-views, and then after that just go away for a little bit. Sort of take that part-time
only Charlotte.
role. Only
Charlotte for me, because she's won so much. The other 3 haven't won as much. Sasha Banks, I just like to look at her, so she's always one of my favorites. But she's tag team. Let her build up Naomi right now, right? Stay with her. Bayley, I feel bad. She blew out her knee, right? So I think she should at least get another run. But the only one I think that needs to kind of give up the belt is Charlotte. She's had it for how many times, how long? Whenever WWE gets scared, who do they throw the belt on for the women? So,
real quick. Let me say what's up to everybody in the chat. Logan, Justin, Coach Ed, Bobby, good to see you guys, man. Thanks for stopping in. This is Premium Takes, man. We really appreciate the love. But if we could segue away from that and go into we'll talk about Randy Orton for a minute. 20 years in 20 years in the WWE, man. It's been a long career, good career for him. A lot of evolution throughout the years from Randy Orton, from the little baby face that he was when he first came in to now being the Viper and the Apex Predator. So it's guys want to have any thoughts on Randy Orton's 20 years in the WWE, and he's still going strong, man.
Hall of Famer, guy that like you said, Mac, who didn't really like when he came in because he was arrogant, and then you hear about him backstage, and he was like entitled, but he's come a long way. He's not one of my favorites. I respect him, always will. And if you told me, Adam, you're an idiot, he's in my top 10, whatever, I'm not going to say no. I think he's done a lot of things for WWE. I think he's one of the best villains of all time in terms of being a heel. I think that was his best role ever. And I think, what he's doing now, you let him have the championship. But I like what they're doing with RK Bro. I really enjoy them more than the Usos, because the Usos are the same thing, stale, over, Matt Riddle and RKO, Randy Orton. They're fun. They're fun to watch. Not to mention they make their segments fun. So I like what they're doing. Respects to that man. He's given us some great matches. I'll always be a Randy Orton fan because he gave Edge some of his best matches. And that's just how I feel. And he deserves to stay with the title.
And I mean, I'm just going to use one key word when I'm describing Randy Orton, and it sort of suits one of the big groups that he used to be in, evolution. The evolution of Randy Orton over the years is a big talking point for what he first started out. You guys remember the RNN network thing where he was making those little vignettes and stuff about he's coming back from his injuries and everything, going into that cocky, Randy Orton, the legend killer, taking out all these legends back and forth all over the place, like Mick Foley, Jake the Snake, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and all these guys. And then he eventually evolves into the Apex Predator. Yeah, he becomes his own legend. He went from Evolution with Triple H being a pupil under that to having his own group and Legacy with him, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase, and then eventually moving on and becoming the Apex Predator and the legendary feuds he had with John Cena and with Triple H, and what he did with that, and then becoming the Viper and how he became a solid babyface, had a good babyface run, was the champion a couple of times, feuding with guys like Sheamus and The Miz. And then, like you said, what he is right now, 20 years later, being able to be in a tag team feud and helping elevate a talent like Matt Riddle, and having arguably some of the best runs of his career in this tag team right now with Matt Riddle. So the key word for me is evolution, and how we've seen the evolution of Randy Orton from when he was a pompous, young, arrogant kid coming out in 22 and then seeing what he's like about 20 years later. So it's amazing to see, and I couldn't be happier. One of the best of all time.
Mac, what are your thoughts? We would like to know what you think.
I mean, absolutely agree with everything you guys been saying. Randy Orton is one of the greatest to put on a pair of boots in WWE. Man, he comes from a wrestling family. As you know, Cowboy Bob Orton was his father. Always walking around with a cast on his arm for like 10 years. Had a broken arm for like 10 years straight. And so he just it was kind of
that arm just never got better.
he was born into it, and he's put, like I said, the way he evolved over the years, man. When he first came in, I would have never saw his character turning out and 20 years down the line being like he is right now, like being at the level and still competing at the level he is, still at the top level, still one of the
great
top
shape.
guys.
Great shape.
Yeah, still a top guy. He's apparently one of the safest guys to work with in the ring, from what I hear from reading a lot from the wrestling community and things like that. So, I mean, just a consummate professional.
I don't think he's hanging up anytime soon.
He's been Johnny on the spot.
I think he's going to keep going.
Doesn't appear to be looking like he's ready to hang it up anytime soon, man. But yeah, Randy Orton is great and one of the greatest, and that's about all I really had. You guys already nailed it.
Yeah, and I mean the best thing about him too is what really makes a great wrestler is if you're able to evolve over the years from one character to another and still remain at that top level. And Randy Orton is one of those guys that did it. You know, like a Triple H, a Chris Jericho, a Shawn Michaels, a John Cena. We were able to evolve.
Well, no. I wouldn't say Cena really evolved. I think he plateaued Cena. Okay, because once he hit the Fruity Pebbles, John Cena, he stayed that way for a long time. Randy Orton had many different faces, many different, turns, many different ways that he went. But, John Cena, once he went from Thugonomics to, Fruity Pebbles, he stayed that way up until recently where he went backwards to kind of portray that, heel turn.
I mean more of an in-ring aspect when it comes to John Cena, because John Cena used to be more of the 5 moves of doom, where he'd literally be doing 5 moves and then that's it, he would get the pin. John Cena became a much better wrestler towards the end of his career, and he was putting on really good matches with guys like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Neville when he's in the WWE, obviously CM Punk, Sheamus, Cesaro. I mean, that's what I mean. I mean that. Well, yeah. Pac right now, but stuff. That's what I mean with evolution with John Cena. Is he was able to evolve more as into a better wrestler in the ring. But yeah, his character was stale. But Randy Orton, I mean, evolution in itself. But what he was at the beginning of his career compared to what he is now is incredible, and why he's been one of the best for 20 years.
Well, I just want to ask one more question about Randy Orton and guys of his ilk, because I think Edge is having a very good comeback himself in terms of, being off for a decade and coming back at his age, advanced age, and still looking in great shape and doing it. Do you think these two guys should get title opportunities? Do you think they will get title opportunities going forward? I know that Randy Orton's had a lot, but at least Edge in this guys. I know they're a little older. I just want you to know your thoughts on the older wrestlers possibly getting title shots.
You can go ahead first, Mac.
Yeah, it depends. If it's certain older wrestlers that haven't really truly had the opportunities over the years, I'm okay with that. But if it's still the older guys that already have done it multiple times over and over and over again, then I don't necessarily need to see it anymore. But
well, what about Edge and Randy specifically?
Well, Edge's situation is unique because obviously he had an injury that we thought was going to be a career ender, and he missed a big chunk of his career. He lost a big chunk of his career. So I feel like he's maybe you could hook him up with at least one more good, strong title run just because of who he is, what he meant to the company. He's a Hall of Famer. He's already a Hall of Famer, and I feel like like I said, that injury to be able to come back from that and battle his way back from that is testament anyway, and do what he truly loves doing. So I think one more title run would be definitely in the cards for him, man. But
awesome.
And I agree with that. I think he's going to have at least one more title run, especially with this program that he has going right now as this new, like, a part of this new group, Judgment Day with Damian Priest. I think eventually they're going to build him up where he's going to be in the world title picture, and he's going to eventually become a world champion. I think they're going to try to get the belts on that entire faction eventually when it's put together. So, yeah, I think he's going to get at least one more token title run. One more run at least as a champion, which, yeah, he's well-deserved after being away from wrestling for 9 years. After having his career taken away from the neck injury. He definitely deserves at least one more run. In terms of Randy Orton, maybe like one more token title run for him, but he's pretty much at the end, but he doesn't need the title. Randy Orton is one of those guys that can still be on top, having awesome programs without even being involved in the title picture, but I think he'll get at least one more.
All right, fellas, and got another superstar, man. That's kind of seeming like to be spiraling a little bit right now, man. Finn Balor, man, one another top star on the roster. Really not truly getting the opportunity he deserves. And at this point right now, almost downright jobbing out to people at this point right now. It seems like as he took another weird match against what Damian Priest that was on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
So what's you think? What's new and maybe up the horizon for Finn Balor coming down the line? I feel like personally myself, maybe like I said, reunite him with AJ Styles, man, and get the old New Japan connection rolling again, man. But what you guys think?
Oh, I think that's exactly where they're going to be going. I could see it right now that's the direction they probably are going to be going with Damian Priest and Edge pretty much asserting themselves, like trying to get away like all these people that go against their judgment. And they just showed it a little bit on a Monday Night Raw where they have Edge distracting Finn Balor and Damian Priest doing what he did. How you doing, man? And like I could definitely see those two teaming up and trying to go up against and trying to take down that Judgment Day faction of Damian Priest and Edge. Just makes too much sense. I mean, it really just makes honestly too much sense that the two of them go together and try to take down that faction because they really have no direction at all. And I mean, it'd be a good way to get AJ Styles and Finn Balor some much needed TV time in a big time program against Edge and Damian Priest. So I think that's the exact direction they're going. So it sucks what happened. He's taking all these L's, but I think he's going to be all right in the next program. He's going to be in.
I feel bad for Finn Balor. I honestly do, because that guy, I feel like he works his butt off to get to be a champion, and then what happens? They take it away from him. Right, quickly, and it's not like he didn't have a long reign as the U.S. champion, right? They gave it to Austin Fury, right? Then he gets beat up by Damian Priest. Then he gets beat up by Roman. He got beat up by Roman Reigns. I feel like this guy has too much talent oozing out of him that he needs to be put in. I don't know if they don't like him because of his mic skills. I have no idea what WWE feels against this guy. Same thing with Kevin Owens. These two guys. It should be your marquee guys, right? You shouldn't have to keep relying the belt on Roman Reigns, keep throwing the belt on like people like that, like big time people that like give a chance. You gave a chance to Ricochet, right? And he's carrying the Intercontinental title pretty well. Why not give a guy like Finn Balor a lengthy run? Give him some respect that he deserves, right? Because that guy has Hall of Fame talent. But they're using him sparingly, and I hope he does do what the AJ Styles thing, and they bring back the Bullet Club. It would be pretty amazing to get that in the WWE because WWE hates doing stuff like that. When you come into a faction, they want to break it up quickly because they want you to be your own thing, and sometimes you just gotta let things ride. You know what I'm saying? And let them be creative. And I feel if you could go let those two dudes do what they got to do, you're gonna get matches that will allow me to tune in and not have to worry about the title if you're going to just keep the belt on Roman Reigns and just have him cruise to face like The Rock at WrestleMania or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just confused that when you got talent like that and you just can't figure out a way to use them correctly. It's just I don't understand why Vince McMahon seems to be the only one that has this problem out of all the big wrestling promotions. It doesn't seem to be a problem. AEW knows how to use their top stars.
He's an egomaniac.
Impact knows how to use their top stars. I mean, but why can't WWE figure out how to use their top guys? It's
WWE doesn't even know who all their top stars are. They're too busy relying on one or two people all the time.
They're too busy releasing them all.
Yeah, they don't really give
Speaking of
other opportunities to
releasing,
anybody else.
that's a great segue, Adam.
Now I'm
We had
gonna get pissed.
a lot of big match releases this past week in WWE for NXT in particular. Jeff, I know you've
I got the
been
list right
following us a
here.
little bit
Yep.
more closely, but if you want to talk about that list and some of these guys, you can go ahead and take it away, man.
Yeah, I got the list right here of people that got released so far. You remember Dakota Kai, former two-time NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, one of the people that's been a forefront in that women's division for the past few years, been in some very solid championship matches. She got released. I don't understand why. I don't know why you didn't have anything for Dakota Kai, who has a very unique look to her, great personality, tremendous wrestler. I mean, I understand if maybe you had nothing for her on the main roster, but I don't understand if you're just going to outright release her unless she wasn't planning on staying with the WWE after her contract was up. So that one confused me. Malcolm Bivens. Malcolm Bivens is one of the best mouthpieces in that company. That guy is a perfect guy. You could have put him with a guy like Omos. You could have put him with a guy like Omos. He could be a perfect mouthpiece. Not like MVP's bad or anything, but Bivens would have been the perfect, unique mouthpiece to put with Omos and be able to help get him over. He obviously probably wasn't going to stay because he wasn't resigning his contract, so you let him go. Dexter Loomis, I don't get why you would release. What's going on, Zion?
What's up, G's?
I don't get why you would release Dexter Loomis. This guy has one of the most unique looks, unique personalities, unique entrances in the WWE. Tremendous talent, but you have no idea what the hell to do with him except put him in a love circle, a love angle with Indy Hartwell, Persia Parada, and Duke Hudson, which makes absolutely no sense. You're wasting away this guy's talent. So I mean, you obviously had no direction with him. So it makes sense that you just let him go and just go somewhere else. Harland, if you guys pay attention to NXT, Harland, who they dubbed for a while as the next Brock Lesnar. This guy just signed literally not even a year ago, and they paired him up with Joey Gacy in NXT. He's gone because apparently they didn't think he was developing enough in NXT, and they didn't think he was his trajectory, his upside trajectory was that good. You got rid of him. Persia Parada, another young female that you thought was going to be a part of that NXT roster going forward. You got rid of her.
Dakota Kai. Fucking get rid of Dakota Kai.
Yeah, Draco Anthony, another guy I thought that had potential in that roster. You got rid of him. It makes no sense why you're doing this, but at the same time, I understand because they had no direction for some of these people going on the main roster. They knew some of these performers were not coming back after their deals were done. So Vince McMahon, in classic Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis fashion, were, well, you know what? We're not letting you leave just on your own merits. You can go wherever you want. We're going to release you right now, and we're going to straddle you with that 30-day, or for the main roster people, the 90-day clause where you can't go anywhere until your clause is done. So, I mean, it's just WWE at times, it just maddens me while some of these people have immense talent that you could build upon these people as building blocks in the future. You have nothing for them, and then you have to end up releasing them the next year because you just have no idea how to use them. That's the one thing that boggles my mind with this company. It just keeps – the beat keeps going on. And John Laurinaitis with this, once again, asshole thing that he does, and I apologize for cursing, the thing that he does where he sends out that letter and he deems everything budget cuts. You know what? I wish there was a budget cut for him and get him the hell out of here because of some of the backstage stories I heard about him lately, the way he treats the women on those roster. I get so pissed off when it comes to this stuff, and I feel bad for all these people that are out of work right now. But you know what? They get to go to AEW, they get to go to Impact, MLW, all these other promotions that they could go out there and expand themselves, or even take a chance on the indies and make a bigger name for themselves out there. And maybe eventually, if they become bigger, they can come back to the WWE if they want in the future. So I always get sick to my stomach when it comes to these releases. Go ahead, guys. You guys can take over.
Who's that professional-looking guy in his car right now? Who is that professional-looking guy in his car?
What's up, gang?
Hey,
yeah,
man,
I was watching WrestleMania last night. I don't know if you guys follow him on YouTube. It's amazing. He always breaks all the biggest news, and he was just going through the 10 people that they released, and I exactly feel what Jeff's coming at. This past week, I actually streamed, I don't know about it, like on Hulu, I probably streamed like the last 7 episodes of NXT, and it's actually pretty enjoyable, more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. And some of the people that got released is people that can actually wrestle. So like Jeff said, hopefully they can rebound in AEW and TNA Impact. I don't know what they're called nowadays, Impact, but yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling. On obviously, Jeff is more hardcore than I am, but when you look at someone like Dakota Kai, I know her from her Japan days. She was a really great wrestler, and the fact that they couldn't even find a storyline for her in the main roster, or even at NXT, is mind-boggling to me because she's such an immense talent, and she could have been the leader of the next female takeover. How you had the four horseman, she could have been a leader of the next women takeover, but yet they released her and in a mind-boggling move.
Hey, Kayla.
What's up, Kayla?
Well, it's simple. She wasn't resigning her contract after her contract was coming to an end, so the WWE decided to release her because they knew she wasn't going to come back. She wasn't going to give it a new deal. So, they pretty much said, well, we're going to let go of you now instead of just letting you go freely when your deal expires. So that's pretty much why she left. The same thing with Malcolm Bivens.
I think it's a good. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I think that them being released is good for the wrestling industry because you're going to see talents that made it to the top, which is WWE, even though it's technically it's minor leagues within its own company, but they made it to the top and they get to showcase now, like you said, with New Japan or with an AEW. And that's where they can really make their hay and then come back. Cody Rhodes already has let you know that you can come back if you're a big time star. What WWE is doing though is a purge, which is never good. I mean, like who needs to be purged? Who needs to be released? Gulak. That's who needs to be released. Okay, because they don't utilize that guy to his abilities. He's getting beat up every week from Charlotte Flair, and he ain't even doing nothing to Charlotte Flair. He's just being an announcer or ringing the bell. It's getting kind of corny. So if I were him, I'd walk out and be like, listen, release me with the rest of them. I'll take my 90-day pay, and I'll come back and find work at one of these other companies.
And I think that was the best thing that ever happened to Cody Rhodes. He was able to venture out, do the deal with Tony Khan or whatever his name is, become a behind the scenes guy for a little bit, learn the business from that side, and then being able to market himself back and knowing that his name brings value back to the WWE. I think if he was to stay in that WWE for the 6-7 years that he was absent, his brand as the Cody Rhodes brand wouldn't have allowed him the ability to grow like he did.
Drew McIntyre did that too when he was first in 3MB, or as everybody deemed him the chosen one. Kid went nowhere. He was pretty much buried in 3MB at the end of that run. And then what he did?
Well, he had problems backstage. That was his issue. Cody never had problems backstage. McIntyre had issues with drinking and not taking it seriously and things like that, so that WWE released him because of his work ethic. So while I agree, yes, he came back and showed his talent, Cody Rhodes was literally squashed with Legacy. Then they squashed him with Stardust. Then he goes to AEW and opens a company randomly. I don't mean to cut you off, Jess. I'm sorry, but opens a company randomly, right, builds it up, and bang, he's back. He was in New Japan too when he was part of that whole Bullet Club thing first before he opened up AEW, and then like you said, he was part of the EVPs over there with AEW. Established his brand and even became a bigger star over there. And eventually, when he knew he got everything done in AEW, he decided to go back over there and try to redeem himself from his last WWE run. So, but I mean, Drew McIntyre, he had backstage issues, but at the same time, he was able, after he got himself right, he was able to go on the independent scene, go to Impact, and try to make himself into a bigger name again. And then eventually, when he did return to WWE, he was able to become more of an established name, and now he's one of the biggest stars in the company. Same thing with Lashley, too. Lashley went that same route as well, where he was in Impact, and he was able to establish himself as a bigger name in Impact or even on the independent scene. Now look at him now since he's been back. He's one of the faces of the company, so it could be the same thing for these people that get released.
He went 14-2 in MMA. The guy could actually fight, so it helped his rise too. Like knowing that, like, hey, this guy didn't come in and nothing against CM Punk. CM Punk is such a great athlete, but he just didn't cut it out in MMA. That guy had a 14-2 record, so you know that guy's an athlete.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Look, I was gonna let's speaking of since we got on the Drew McIntyre. Let's talk about this opportunity he seems to be about to get coming up on here on SmackDown. Seem to be getting ready to put him back into another big rivalry with Roman Reigns. Obviously, which would assume is going to lead to a title shot, a title opportunity. Obviously, not at the next pay per view at this back, but at probably the excuse me, whatever the following pay per view after
Oh
that's going to
man,
be. What do you
they
guys thought?
dogged him.
Do you think you get a fair shot, a fair opportunity, or you think it's just going to be a kind of generic rivalry in which Roman Reigns just runs over top of him and
No,
pretty
I
much
don't think
buries
so
him?
because you saw him on SmackDown. He threw Roman Reigns across the ring like he was a rag doll. Like if you really want me to believe that there's a guy who can beat him, that's the guy. Okay, Drew McIntyre deserves it. He's held the title before. He's needs to be built up as one of your stars because guess what? He is. Ride with him. Okay. To me, I look at it like this: they dogged him in this triple threat, this stupid 3-man tag team crap that they're doing with the unification title belts. Now it's a 3-person tag. I think it's dumb. I do. I think it's really dumb. I'm glad that there's now a new person to help RK Bro out in terms of Drew McIntyre, so there's not like a
I
strength in
missed
numbers thing.
SmackDown last night, so you're saying that Roman Reigns is gonna fight with the Usos?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Roman Reigns
Because I was
and
just about to
Usos
ask.
versus
happened?
Drew McIntyre and RK Bro.
That answers my question because I was just about to ask why is it there's no hype on any championships that Roman Reigns is holding at Backlash, and you answered my question last night.
Well, I think it's stupid. I mean, I want to know you guys' opinion, Zion, Jeff, Mac. Why would you go from unificating the title belts, a great match between 2 tag teams, one very hot and one that's just there, right, to now making it a triple man tag team matchup? I think it makes Backlash worthless.
I don't think you need a. I mean, like obviously you always need a storyline, but I don't think fans will be mad if they just matched up Drew McIntyre for the Universal Championship. Like us as a fan base would not be like, well, he doesn't deserve it. They don't always have to be a 3-month storyline for a wrestling match. They could have just made it for the Universal title, the main event at Backlash. Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns.
You want to make this a good match? Make Drew McIntyre look as absolutely dominant as possible in this match, and he ends up getting the pin on either one of the Usos and gets the win in that match. That's how you can make it work. You have to make Drew McIntyre, if you want to take him seriously, look absolutely dominant against Roman Reigns, against the Usos, and he ends up getting that pin on one of the Usos and wins that matchup. That's the only way it's going to make it a little bit more believable in terms of Reigns versus
When you say
McIntyre.
dominant, do you mean like Randy Orton on his 20-year celebration day? I mean, like they made that guy look unstoppable.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to make him look. Go ahead, Adam.
I think we should let Max speak, but quickly, I think what they did with what he did with against Sami Zayn, something like that, where you knew Sami Zayn wasn't getting out alive without a loss, but to make him really build up a spot where he dominated that guy, you got to make him look big.
I agree, Matt.
I totally agree. I just don't think WWE is going to do it. I think Vince McMahon has it in his mind that he wants Roman Reigns to just carry this title for like ever. It seems like, and I just as much as I'm on board with what you guys are saying, I'm not sure if Drew McIntyre is the one Vince McMahon wants to like be the face of this company. I feel like if that was the case, he would have had a much longer title run before when he had that title before he lost it to with Lashley, I think it was he lost to. So I'm just not sure what direction they might be really trying to go.
Well, I know where they're going. They're trying to get The Rock to come back and have a WrestleMania match with him.
But fellas, we do need to wrap this wrestling thing up.
Yes.
All right, we got to put a bow on this. All right, so
all right,
we're gonna segue and head into some NBA talk right now, man. All right, we're gonna get to the playoffs. We're gonna get to the playoffs, and if we want to start off, I want to start off with you guys' thoughts on your Brooklyn Nets, where they go from here. What's going on with that team, man? Because they got too much talent on that team to go out the way they did in the playoffs. So how do you feel about this?
True.
think they need a new coach, and here's why. I know people are going to be, but Adam, they're a winning team. Hear me out. You take on the personality of your coach, and right now Steve Nash is a soft-minded coach. He was a soft-minded player, and now he's a soft-minded coach. You need to do things that are going to be winning moves. Putting Aldridge on the bench all series long is not a winning move. Not even testing Ben Simmons to see if he could play, not winning moves. You know what coaches do? They motivate those guys to say, get your ass out there and go win yourself a damn title. Okay? KD had one of the worst series of his life. And I don't know if that was just Boston playing good or if he was in a slump because Kyrie came back and they were out of sync a little bit. I don't know. But this team has too much talent on it to be where it is. And the one thing I'll say before I let it give it to Jeff is I think they did their big men dirty, right? Getting rid of all the big men. The big men didn't come through for them. What they need is like an Al Horford, a guy that's going to help free up Kyrie, free up Kevin Durant, and not have so many double teams going forward.
Space,
so
absolutely.
whoever that may be, I don't know, but man, I'm typical Nets for me. Typical Nets.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Typical Nets. And I mean, I agree. Their big men were done dirty in this series. I just don't understand why they didn't even give a shot to Blake Griffin until pretty much the end of that series when the Nets were out of it. I don't know why you didn't test out LaMarcus Aldridge at all. You didn't even try to give him a couple of minutes. And I mean, yeah, this team, I believe, just didn't. They gel. They were trying to make this team gel too late in the season when everything was going on with the KD injury, the Kyrie Irving stuff. Ben Simmons didn't even get any minutes at all. This team was shuffling in and out of lineups every 2 seconds. I think they just didn't have a chance to actually gel as a team completely. And yeah, Steve Nash is a soft-minded guy, soft-spoken. He's not authoritative. He's not somebody that's going to motivate these players, get them out there, work harder, everything. He just seemed like he looked lost as a coach out there. And I mean, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving just had no adjustments, exactly. And Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving arguably had the worst series they both had. Maybe it's a credit to Boston's defense that just did a good job against those guys. Maybe the both of them just had a really, really off shooting time, and maybe because the both of them have been so in and out of the lineup the entire series, or the entire season, that they really never had a chance to get themselves established. So, and the whole Ben Simmons thing, I mean, that's just still a complete mystery. What's going on with him? It's even hard to
James
envision.
Harden. I hate James Harden.
Yeah, I don't even know what to expect from Ben Simmons even going into next year because it just seems like his mental health is just out there.
Expect nothing.
Yeah, I don't expect anything at all from Ben Simmons. If we get anything, it's a luxury. But yeah, I just think this team is very talented. I think the loss of Joe Harris actually hurt them a lot worse than we originally thought because they didn't have that consistent outside shooter. Seth Curry did an admirable job at times. Patty Mills was solid at the beginning of the season, but he ran out of gas. So I think not having Joe Harris out there was a big loss for this team. Bruce Brown, he did an admirable job at times in the series and then throughout the season, but he's more of a complimentary guy and not a number 3 player on this team. So they need to go out there, get themselves some more size, need to get themselves more anchors on their front line, get some more aggressiveness. If apparently Steve Nash will be back because Joe Tsai pretty much put out a fly out there that he wants to keep Steve Nash and give him an opportunity because of the turmoil that went on this season. But yeah, this team needs to get more physical. They need to get bigger. I would maybe give this kid Durant Sharp a chance in the D-League, see if he can develop in his second year. Cam Thomas, give him a chance. Kessler Edwards as well. See if they can maybe get some more size in here. And, they got to come out and they have to try to stay healthy and, be able to play with all their guys on the team more consistently and not go in and out of the lines because I think that's what screwed them the most is that they just were missing too many guys that were in and out of the lineup too much this season. So we'll see.
Who's that Claxton kid on the team? He needs to learn how to shoot free throws.
He's a free agent, though. He might not even be on this team.
That guy needs to go to the gym all summer.
Claxton might not be on this team after this year.
It doesn't matter if he's on the team. If he goes to another team, he's got to hit the gym. He's got to eat, sleep, bring your meals to the gym, bring your clothes to the gym. Hell, put a tent up in the gym at the free throw line. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do before you go take a piss is shoot a free throw. Drummond
should go with him because Drummond can't hit a free throw either. Both of our centers were absolutely horrendous free throw shooters. It's just – They need to get some capable size in there. The guys that are going to be bruisers down low that can even consistently hit the outside shot or maybe even the 3-point shot. They just need a lot of help down low at that center and that power forward position. That's what really killed them the entire time. And they need to get better on defense.
Let's stop talking about these losers. All right, these losers who let us down. Let's move on to the teams that are still going on. Okay.
I would like to know real quick, fellas, who did impress you the most in the opening round? I know where Zion's gonna go with this, obviously, but who else? Who impressed you guys the most in the opening round of the playoffs? Talking about team wise.
Boston. I'm gonna say Boston because the way they came together as a team, the way they play defense right now, the way Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have stepped up their game, Marcus Smart. Defensive Player of the Year, the way he's been guarding people on the outside, taking away the number one guy, hitting the consistent threes. Al Horford seems to have found the fountain of youth. Robert Williams, a solid center. Grant Williams, a good role player. White, he's a good solid player off the bench. I mean, the Celtics and Ime Udoka, very great young coach that's been out there. I mean, the Celtics have impressed me a hell of a lot. I'm not just saying that because they kicked our team's ass, but they are a team that's coming together and they're gelling at the right time.
I'm gonna say outside of my team, I'm gonna say West Coast. I'm gonna say the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, you took mine, you son of a gun.
Oh, go ahead, Adam. I'm just gonna say
no. Go ahead.
They're playing playoff basketball, and a lot of the reporters was writing them off, was just handing the Suns the championship, and guess what, guys? You have a perfect competitor for the Suns, and I'm gonna let Adam get into that.
A perfect competitor? You mean the Miami Heat?
I meant obviously Miami, but talk about Golden State on how they've been playing, man.
Well, listen, they've impressed me from jump. I didn't expect anything from them. I actually expected Denver to kind of give them more of a series than they did, and they beat them in real quick fashion. And it just goes to show experience is a big thing to be relied upon in the NBA playoffs, because a lot of teams with experienced players have advanced to the conference finals. So, and I'm talking about winning experience. Look at the Warriors. They had Stephon Curry is back, and everyone's playing at a big level. Klay Thompson shooting the lights out to Jim Draymond Green. I think he turned back the hands of time for a few minutes. It doesn't look like that guy has aged at all playing basketball, even though we know he's been through some injuries. And Steve Kerr's got that team where we want Steve Nash. We want Steve Kerr. What Steve Kerr is doing is what we want the Steve Nash to do. Get the stars to play no matter what. Rise to the occasion. They did not do that. So for me, it was the Golden State Warriors. Didn't mean to steal your thunder, Zion, with that pick.
No. I didn't mean to steal your thunder because I kind of knew you was going to say them. That's why I made my point fast.
Well, I'm going to go a little different, fellas. And I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to say I'm going to go with Phoenix here, and this is why, man. Yeah. I mean, you lose Devin Booker. Yes, who is I don't think we can agree that he's probably the best individual talent on that team. I mean, Chris Paul is a future Hall of Famer. He's great, but he's not Devin Booker at this stage of his career.
Not
you know
at all.
I mean, so for him to go down, and I know it's against the New Orleans Pelicans, but they still made the playoffs as well. And
the Pelicans
they were a playoff team.
McCollum's a baller.
And so I just say, I know that they got some other pieces, like I said, Chris Paul, they got Akins, they got some other good role players. They got my boy Mikal Bridges playing that vicious defense out there. But just when you lose a player like the caliber of Devin Booker, especially with the role that he was on a roll. He was absolutely on fire too, man. And to lose a player of that caliber and still be able to overcome it and pretty much kind of still win the series in dominant fashion. My hat's off to Phoenix, and I was pretty impressed with that performance in the first round.
I think if Phoenix are gonna hold it off to the championship, Ayton needs to play better. He was kind of washed. Like Ayton played good, but I mean, he needs to play better. He needs to play like a top center in the league, which he can be. Which a lot of people consider him a top 5 center. And there's times where you see where he takes off and he's just lazy to the ball. Ayton could be a dominant force on that court if he just plays his A game every single time.
I knew what you meant, Coach. I was following you, bro. I knew what you meant.
I want you guys' opinion. Obviously, I don't know if you guys seen it, but Drake was talking to Embiid the other night, and he's all like, "Now you guys are about to get swept by Miami." So hopefully Drake didn't diss us, because the 76ers is a team that I am more concerned about than the Hawks. They have a good roster, They have good shooters. They have good players all around, no matter where you look. And I just want to hear you guys' thoughts because of the fact that there's a lot of reports and a lot of reporters that saying that, they're using the excuse of, oh, if Butler's out and if Kawhi Lowry's out, then we have the 76ers winning this series, and they're just writing off Miami. And I don't like that report because wouldn't you want to beat Miami at the best with Butler on the court and with Kyle Lowry on the court? So the fact that they're just writing off Miami and just automatically going with the hot hands in the 76ers, I think Miami's going to surprise a lot of people because Victor Oladipo been playing good basketball. We haven't seen a really great game out of Tyler but once. We haven't really seen a great game out of Robertson since the first game. So once everything starts gelling, and bam, we haven't even seen Bam get tested to his limits. So when Embiid is on the floor and Horton is on the floor, we're really going to see what this Miami team is made of with or without Butler.
Well, I don't know if you heard the news about what happened with Embiid, but he's dealing with an orbital fracture and a concussion right now. So he even knows when he's even going to be ready to go and how effective he's going to be. Plus playing with that.
Just heard about that from you. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Plus he's playing with the torn ligament in his thumb. So, I mean, Embiid might not even be ready to go when this series starts. So, I mean, that's a major advantage for the Heat already. And, I mean, we already know what James Harden does when it comes down to the clutch moments. James Harden always finds a way to welt it under the pressure. So, I mean, I think the one guy that you should be worried about the most is actually Maxey. Maxey's actually been playing well for that Sixers team. So he's the guy I would be a little worried about. But I actually think your team going into this series has I think you guys have the upper hand, not only because you're the home team in this series, but I think you just have overall the better team completely. I mean, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, I think they're going to step up their game. If Embiid's not 100%, I think Adebayo is going to be playing well there. You still got Butler, who's the leader on that team. Yes. I mean, if Lowry can come back healthy, and then you talked about Oladipo, who he's the key. I think he's going to be the key to that series. I mean, the type of player he is coming back from that injury. I think the Heat are going to end up taking that series because of the questions going on with Joel Embiid and the fact that James Harden, every single time a clutch moment is around, he always seems to come up small. So I'm taking the Heat. I think the Heat are going to take that series. I'm actually going to say Heat in 6. I think they're the better
I was just
team.
about to say Heat in 6 too, and I just feel like we have and Horton, he hasn't been playing really aggressive basketball. If Horton goes out there and does James Harden things, then maybe. But at the end of the day, I just think that exactly what you just said. We match up with them perfectly, and overall, we have a better roster. So hopefully we can click and we can get it done. We can move on to challenge someone like Boston or someone like Milwaukee.
Adam? Mac?
I mean,
I'm just
curious. I'm curious to see.
What up, Blue City?
I'm a little curious to see if this Miami team is going to be for real. They got the Sixers this round. I'm expecting them to get past the Sixers.
We smashed the Hawks without Butler.
I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was with the Hawks. I think.
Not at all, dude. Not at all.
I think it's going to be have to work a little bit harder for this one. But I am curious to see if this team is the real deal. Trying to come out of the Eastern Conference, man. And as far as the West, man, like Coach mentioned up in the comment, I am curious. I'm excited to see Ja Morant take another step in his development, man. And now in the Western Conference semifinals, who's Memphis matched up against?
I think is it Dallas?
Well, that series over. They won the series last night.
They're matched up. I can look right now if you want me to. I forget though.
Who they played in the semifinal in the next round?
Who did they play?
Because Dallas beat Utah, right?
Yeah, they play Utah Jazz.
Oh, it's all right. So it's Utah versus Memphis. That's gonna be a pretty solid series.
No, Dallas and Memphis. Like you said, Dallas and Memphis. I'm sorry.
Dallas and Memphis. Yeah.
I got mixed up.
Is it Dallas?
No, it's all good, man. Yeah, because Dallas ended up beating Utah.
Luka versus Ja Morant. Let's go.
I can't wait for Boston versus Milwaukee. That I think is going to be by far the best matchup in the first round. I cannot wait for that series. Those two have the old school mentality, old school basketball feel. With those two teams going to just be bruising the hell out of each other during that whole 7. I think that's going to go 7. I think if any series is going to go 7, it's going to be Boston and Milwaukee. And whoever wins that series between the Heat and the Sixers, they might be in good shape because of the fact that they're going to be going up against a team that's just going to be beaten up that entire time. After that's going to be a physical series between Boston and Milwaukee. So,
And is Middleton still out?
yes, he is. He's going to be out the entire series with that MCL sprain.
Ouch.
Yeah, so
That's a big hit.
that's a big help for Boston.
But I think anybody who plays in a
big important piece to that offense.
I think anybody who's beating the Milwaukee or Boston series is going to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. I just think those two teams have what it takes. Not saying the Heat don't, but I just feel like, for me, watching Boston, their in and out game, they basically play old school basketball. Both these teams play old school basketball. Guys who can basically set you up in the low post. Out of the Greek Freak. He's 6'8", right? But he can do everything. So his best position is to be in the low post to work the offense around, right? And that's what they get guys, open shooters, slashers. I just love the way they play the basketball. On the West Coast, it's a little different. They like to shoot, right? They like to shoot more in basketball on the West Coast. So for me, I just think it's going to be Boston. Philadelphia, not only is Philadelphia not my favorite city, if you know me, you know why, but they have James Harden. And every time James Harden gets closer and closer to winning in a big spot, he tends to fold, right? So as long as he's on the team, and because Embiid's not going to be there, where the focus is going to go. It's going to go to the next big man on the floor. So it will be Harden, and let's see if he can rise up and rise to the occasion. If he can't, they'll be going home.
That's true.
But Coach, Embiid is out indefinitely, so he may not be out for the entire plus of the playoffs. But
that could hurt them.
He's definitely not going to be around for the first few games of this series. So we'll see.
Just a major
keep a look on it.
Get them while they're down. Take the series, start it up 1-2-0 if you can.
I think if Embiid is going for most of the series, the Sixers are screwed.
Yeah. We are approaching Mr. Irrelevant territory in the NFL
draft. Speaking of which, I was going to say, if you guys want to got any more final thoughts on the NBA playoffs, we can get ready to segue into what everybody's here for, man. What they waiting for.
Let's get it.
F. James Harden. That's all I got to say.
The NFL draft.
Let's go.
I'm just going to say it real quickly. We got Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. Let's go.
Yeah, everybody, y'all draft thoughts, man. How'd y'all feel Thursday night when pick number 5 came out and it was Kayvon Thibodeau, and then 2 picks later added Evan Neal, offensive tackle, University of Alabama, my number 1 guy. We got him. He's a New York football giant. Let's fucking go, baby. How y'all feel? Tell me how y'all feel. If y'all feeling the same energy I'm feeling right now.
Absolutely. I was jumping up and down with joy. As soon as I seen Stingley's name come off the board, I'm like, all right, the Jets could go either way. They could take him or they might take Sauce. And sure enough, the Jets take Sauce, and it panned it out perfectly. We had all 3 offensive linemen on the board. We could go any direction. We're like, why don't we just take Kayvon? We come back and pick Evan Neal at 7. Outside of the Jets and the Ravens, and the Lions, I think the Giants probably had the better of the first rounds. I'll rank them up there with all the teams I just mentioned. We damn near stole, arguably at one time, the 2 best players in the draft. I obviously think that Kayvon is going to amount to a better player than Aiden Hutchinson and then Walker. And I think Evan Neal is the more, legit tackle and that out of all of them. Now, I know Ekwonu is a beast. I know he's probably going to be doing excellent things for Carolina, but we can't get mad, man. We had the number 1 tackle at one point and the number 1 player at one point in the first round. And that, when we drafted that receiver yesterday, I was so irritated and confused about that pick, but I couldn't be mad at it because we had such a successful day 1 that we can't have a perfect draft. I get why they picked that receiver. I understand it. I'm kind of making my point because I need to hop in like 5 minutes. So I'm kind of covering everything. Obviously, we have a lot of secondary pieces that we can use. We took a lot of offensive linemen in this draft. We grabbed that tight end. So we are filling up the roster, but just the amount of firepower we got out of the first round. I mean, like, in a matter of 3 years, guys, we could have the best tackles in the NFL. And I'm not saying that lightly. I think Evan Neal has the possibilities of becoming a really great tackle with right or left. And I think Andrew Thomas is on his way to a Pro Bowl type season. Hopefully, if everything works out. Now, you got to keep in mind, Giants fans, that Andrew Thomas played hurt last year. So he wasn't 100% healthy. And he still was our best tackle because we had a bunch of bums. I'm just seeing the vision that this coaching staff has in mind. Grabbing someone like Rondell Moore, I'm Rondell Robinson. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was jumping for joy. I was more scratching my head, but I kind of understand what they're aiming for and getting the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands faster and yards after catch with these receivers. The ability to make the first man miss. We're gonna try to move the offense down the field faster, and I'm absolutely ecstatic on these two picks, Evan Neal and Pivotal. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna let you guys hold it down, man. But man, this is a great time to be a Giants fan. And can we shout out that kid that was on stage announcing the pick, man? He just brought the energy, and that was just needed for us Giants fans because we need that energy change. And as soon as he announced that pick and Thibodeau came out and they shook hands and they was all pumped up, like, I love it. I love the energy that they brought. And bro, like, I don't know if you guys seen the quote from Thibodeau he put on Twitter, but man, that's inspiring, man. He's like, don't leave in the fourth quarter because I'm going to make a play. He was saying some stuff like that. He's like, when you're sleeping, I'm working. When you're getting up, I'm working. Like, this guy wants to be a Giant. He knows the legacy that we have at that position. And like I believe Blue City just mentioned, he's going to be obviously not only trained and not only he's just going to be around greatness that walks into our building, like a Michael Strahan, like all the other players that walk around in our building on a daily basis. And that's not only for Kayvon, that's also for Evan Neal and the offensive line. You have Super Bowl championship O-line and Sean O'Hara and Snee walking around that building doing media and just be able to pick their brain and knowing that, man, I am super stoked for this season. I get it. It's still a foundation building year, but I can say now that it can be a foundation building year that we can compete. I'm not going to be all ecstatic and give us playoffs just yet. We still have to learn how to win football games, but this is a right step forward. And like I said, outside of the Jets and the Ravens, we damn near stole the first round. But yeah, I'll let you guys go. Hold it down, man. Giants for life. I got to get back on the clock. You guys have a good one.
See you later.
Zion.
Thank you. Have a good one, Zion.
Well,
go ahead, Adam. You
Well,
take this.
go ahead. I know y'all got a lot to say, man. Go ahead and take it away, Adam.
Well. What have we here? Kayvon Thibodeau falls to the New York Giants because idiots thought that his work ethic was not good. Well, guess what, NFL? Guess what, other teams that drafted him? I'm going out on a limb right now, which is not much of a limb. It's probably a pretty strong limb. He's going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. Okay? The guy, I love him. I'm going to use this term. I thought to myself I was going to use it, but people may hate me for it. He's the Odell Beckham Jr. of this defense. He's going to bring excitement back to the defensive side. You're not going to want to get up off your seat because, man, it's a crucial drive. Kayvon Thibodeau is on the field. I want to see what he's going to do on 3rd and 13. Okay? We got the best pure pass rusher, the one who has the quickest step off the football. Okay? The NFL was put on notice on Thursday night that the Giant defense with Mick Martindale ain't playing no more games. We ain't bending or breaking with 2 minutes to go in the half. It ain't happening anymore like that. On offense, we got the tackle that I absolutely love, that I was telling people about. If he fell to us, that's the guy I want. Well, Adam, why would you want him? We could get a because at one point he was rated number 1 in the draft. He was rated to go number 1 overall. That's a guy you want on your football team. A guy that everyone around up until the draft, up until basically a few weeks ago, was saying would be the number 1 pick. And then they changed it because the Jaguars are run by idiots, and they decided to take, an idiot in terms of a pick. Like, I like Trayvon Walker, but you don't put the first overall pick on a guy who you are just basing the potential on, unless he's a quarterback. I'm sorry, you just don't do it. So, hey, you don't want to take the best pass rusher or best tackle in the draft? Well, guess what? They're going to be on this team for a long time. You want to talk about second contracts? These guys are going to get them. Hopefully, we're going to see these guys in blue for a long time.
The Mr. Irrelevant pick is about to come in right now, by the way, too, gentlemen.
It's a tackle from Michigan State, AJ Arcuri. That was LA's pick. San Francisco has Mr. Irrelevant. And the pick is in.
What's going on, Alex? Thanks for stopping in, bro.
762. Yo, Big Blue in the Bronx, my man.
Alex, what's going on, bro?
We're just touching on the NFL draft. We're about to see Mr. Irrelevant, but I think Jeff was going to give us takes on what he thought of the first round. I guess we can go over all the rounds since basically it's over, and we can get our thoughts on everything that went down. Mac, I know you're loving Kayvon Thibodeau and Neal. Jeff, I know you're loving them. What about the second round for you guys?
I'm just gonna say it. I actually was very questioned on the second round pick at first. I mean, I was thinking, why would we get another guy that has very similar skill sets to Kadarius Toney? Because is this a sign that maybe Kadarius Toney could be a guy that could be on the trade block in the future, and they have their potential replacement? But then after thinking about it in a little bit of time, I'm thinking, well, look who's the offensive coordinator on this team, and look at the personnel that he worked with in Kansas City. And I'm thinking, you know what? He had guys like Mecole Hardman, and he had Tyreek Hill, two guys that are good in open space, two guys that can take the jet sweeps, to take the screen passes on the side, can go on the slot, can take the slant passes, and this is exactly the type of player that Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be, like Kadarius Toney. That type of player that you could throw around everywhere on this offense, whether in the slot, on the outside, at the backfield. This is exactly what you're going to be doing with a guy like Wan'Dale, and I think he's an explosive player. You can put everywhere on the offense. I'm actually very thrilled to see what this kid can do. I think he's actually going to be put out there, and he's going to play a lot more than people might think because of the issues and the injuries with Toney, Shepard, and Galladay. That all three of them have issues staying on the field. So I think this kid is going to be maybe an Isaiah McKenzie type player that he was. Since we do have Dable here, he's going to maybe run and use Wan'Dale Robinson his rookie year more like Isaiah McKenzie, as like Jeff Sweets and stuff. Maybe as long as he starts learning as long as he continues to learn the offensive schemes, he's maybe start to become more of an established wide receiver as the season goes on. But I mean, I love that pick. How can you not complain when we talked about the entire time this offseason? What did this team need to do the most? Improve the offensive line. And not only did you get not one, arguably you got the best offensive tackle. You could just slot in there at right tackle, but you got not one, but two young offensive guards that you could just slot in from the same school, ironically, from North Carolina, who had one of the best run games in college football in 2020. To slot them in as young developmental guys for the first year, have them learn underneath Bobby Johnson. You can teach them the ropes, and you can have these guys as potential starters going into 2023 once they get a year under their belt. And who knows, maybe if they end up performing really well in training camp and preseason this year, they could vie for a starting spot, especially the kid we got at third round, Eze Udu. He could end up being a guy that could potentially win a starting spot at left guard. I mean, I'm a big fan. Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger might actually be one of my favorite picks in this draft. We have been screaming this whole time about getting a complete tight end. And we have not had a complete tight end since the days of Kevin Boss and Jeremy Shockey, who could be out there and be great blocking tight ends, as well as be able to go out there and be a reliable pass receiver. This kid is the fastest tight end coming out of the draft. He's the best blocking tight end coming out of the draft. He's an underrated weapon, and ironically, a lot of scouts have been comparing him to, ironically, Dawson Knox, who Brian Dable obviously knows very well in Buffalo. So I think that's going to be a very underrated pick. He could be a kid that could either be a tight end 2 to start out at first, or he could actually end up maybe winning that starting job and being that reliable guy over the middle, maybe throw him out there some seam passes. And if we wanted to go 5 wide, or if you want to run some type of 11 or 12 personnel, you can throw him in there as your blocking a guy that can block for Daniel Jones out there. So I can't complain about that. Dane Belton, the safety that they picked up, a guy that can come down into the middle. He's actually good at run blocking. He can play. He's actually a ball hawk in a way. He could play in the box. You could put him all over the place. I think that's a very underrated pick. I mean, the kid Beavers that we got at linebacker, this kid you can bring down to the line. I love the fact that we got this kid in the 6th round, where actually he could have been even like a 5th or a 4th round prospect. I'm very happy about that. McFadden, the other linebacker that we got, in the 5th round. He's a guy that can fit very well in Wink Martindale's system, so happy about that. The other offensive guard that we got, I forget his name off the top of my head. I apologize if you guys could throw it in the chat to let me know who it is. Thank you very much. But he's also another guy you could develop on that offensive line. So there's no player in this draft that you can honestly say as a Giants fan, you'll just be like, why the hell did they pick this? What is with this? I don't understand this pick or anything. These are guys that you can develop in the system for the next year or so. Even some of these guys can go out there and win a starting job, or even guys that could be in the rotation their first year to get some experience on the field. And I mean, you got the two of obviously arguably the 3 best players in this draft, who at one point, each of them, Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, were ranked number 1 overall in this draft at certain points of this entire offseason in the mock drafts. You cannot complain about that. Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, Brian Dable, they hit a home run with this draft in the first round, and they got some really solid backup players that with the right coaching and developing could end up being some potential long-term starters on this. So I'm giving this draft a B+. I'm very happy, and I'm going into this the mini camp. I'm going into training camp, the preseason, with a lot more optimism than I had before. We still have holes in this team. It's going to still take some time to build some chemistry up, but I feel a lot better right now than, let's say, I did a few days ago before this draft started. So that's all I got to say.
Well, obviously, we know how I felt about the first 2 picks, so I don't even need to go any more in depth about that. I think we truly may have possibly got the absolute best 2 players in this draft, my opinion. But let's go into this second round pick, because it stirred up a whole lot of controversy last night. As soon as his name got called, I felt like Giant Nation once again got a little divided. People jumping off the deep end once again. The same people who loved Joe Shane the night before, a lot of them all of a sudden wanted to run the guy out of town because we picked Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. The second round picked the wide receiver. And here's my thing about it is I'm good with it, because even though it might have been a bit of a reach considering where this player was ranked, this team, Joe Shane, he has a vision. Brian Dable, he has a vision. And until any of us see their vision play out, who are we to judge? They might be evil geniuses, man. And I mean, one thing that Joe Shane was can hang his hat on before he got here was that he was known for being very good in the scouting department. So maybe he sees something in these guys other teams didn't, and they just valued them a little bit more. Also, another thing I always preach is when your guy is on the board sometimes, and he's really your guy, and you really feel really good about him, you just go ahead and grab him no matter what anybody thinks. None of that matters, man. So as long as they got a vision for this guy, some clear-cut direction, I'm all about at least seeing. I want to see the product on the field before I start passing judgment. You know what I mean? Because for all we know, they might be out there drafting us a whole group of all pros, and we're just sitting here ripping their draft apart because they're not the guys we wanted them to pick. They're picking the guys that they want.
You're right, Mac. And I think I'm one of those guys who fell in love with certain players, and when his name was called, was like, who? You know, I mean, I know who he was, but I did not think that we needed to draft him in that part of the round. Now, you know, people are saying like what Big Play saying Whiteout Robinson is going to be a dog for you guys. Trust me, it's such a good scheme fit. Might have been a reach, but that offense's RPO pre-snap motion makes a lot more sense than you think. And I understand everything that's being said about the gentleman. I get it. I believe there were other players who could do the similar skill set to him. So I'm not necessarily mad about what the position is. I think receiver was well made, but George Pickens was rated a first round pick. That guy to me falling into your lap is some. I think what it was for me is the no brainer picks were made on Thursday, and then the ones that made me scratch my head like, well, I understand, but there was like a couple no brainers in those rounds to get those guys. So for me, that's why I fell the way I did. I'm learning more about him. I'll be honest with you. The more I read, I do like. However, there are some things that will get to me a little bit. But I think right now where he's going to start is on special teams and work his way up. He's a second-round pick, right? So that means Darius Slayton, you're taking a back seat. Sorry, bro. You were a 5th-round pick from a regime that's not here anymore. So I think he's going to get on the field as the 4th receiver. I think he's going to be good for Daniel Jones in terms of the bubble screens. I think this guy, you have to keep him in motion because I feel like even though he's strong, press corners are going to come up and they're going to be DB coaches that are going to say, you're 6'2", 210 pounds. If you get beaten by this 5'8", 178 pound guy, we're taking you off the field. So I would love to see how they deploy him, see how he fits in the offense. When I think about where the coaching staff came from, makes a little bit more sense with the Isaiah McKenzie comparisons. I think that's how they'll use him first in the first half of the year to get him acclimated. Then the second half, you'll probably see him go deep a little bit more as he learns the offense. The 3rd-round pick is what really intrigues me. The 2 3rd-round picks, the guard I really like. He made me feel a little better after that because I'm like, well, at least you get a guard. And that's what I told people. You can get guards later on in the round. This guy coming in at the 3rd-round pick is going to fight for a starting job. Now, that's not necessarily an indictment on him, but I know he's going up against Shane Lemieux, but there's no guarantee that Shane Lemieux is going to be that spot. And by the way, value in drafts mean a lot of things when they evaluate you come starting time. If you're a 3rd-round pick and Shane Lemieux is a 5th-round pick and you both are even, guess who's getting the nod? The 3rd-round pick. Because that's a guy you're investing in. A 5th-round pick is a guy that's usually in the back end of your roster. And I know people may not think it means anything, but it does when it comes to these back end roster players. You're going to see a lot of UDFAs being signed. This is the time where the roster gets better. Guys that we didn't think, like Alec Lindstrom, I hear is a UDFA. Give me that guy. That's the guy I would love to have. And the last thing, the LSU corner that just came in. Apparently, there's another LSU corner coming in, but we'll see about that.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex, for that update.
The LSU corner, I like him, but I think what he was brought in here for is Wink Martindale likes to blitz off the slot, and this guy does that very well, is blitzing off the slot. I think the whole draft in general, you see a lot of that on defense. The 2 linebackers, absolutely love both those guys. I think they're well versed in what needs to be done. I like the Beaver kid. I like them both. I can't say I like one, but they both bring a little juice to it, and I think they'll be hopefully the heir apparents to Blake Martinez and Tate Crowder. Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown, you may want to start packing your bags because I don't think you're going to be on the roster with these 2 kids coming.
I could see Brown staying because he's a very vital special teams player. Coughlin, I don't know. But Brown is a good special teams player, so I could see him maybe staying.
Well,
especially with McGahee staying.
Carter Coughlin does a lot of the same stuff that these guys they're looking for them to do in terms of blitzing, right? When they blitz the A-gap and everything like that. Carter Coughlin used to be an outside linebacker converted to now a middle linebacker. So I don't know what they're going to do now with all the edges in the room. So for me, those 2 guys, well, technically one of them can stay because TJ Brunson, you got to go too. You have done.
I think he's gone. Is he still on the team or did he get cut after he got hurt?
I don't know, but he doesn't need to be on the roster if he is. There's a few other guys who might have seen their swan song. And then Daniel Bellinger, I was talking to him about on Pat's stream months ago. I liked him. He was the only guy that didn't get beat up by the pad at the combine. If you were watching these guys, all these idiots were trying to block a pad. And I'm like, this pad is kicking their ass. The only one that came out and had proper technique and drove the pad down was Daniel Bellinger. So I'm excited that we got him. Look for him to be more of a traditional tight end. And what I mean by that is he's going to catch passes. He's going to block. He's going to be on the field a lot. And don't sleep on him. I think he's a better version of Caden Smith. If you liked Caden Smith, you're going to like Daniel Bellinger. I think a little bit more athleticism. And then their last pick in the draft, the last 2 guys they got was DJ Davison, who I like, and the offensive lineman from North Carolina. I guess they went down to North Carolina to scout more than just Sam Howell, huh?
But real quick, if I could touch on Bellinger also, like you were just saying, he's I think another thing Giant fans got to it, he's not just coming in here just to be a just straight up blocking tight end. This kid, he can catch. He has some decent hands too. Just at San Diego State didn't necessarily use him that way as much in the receiving game, but he can definitely get the job done when his number is called. So don't sleep, man. Bellinger was a really sneaky good pick. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a sneaky good pick. It was just a good damn pick at the top of the fourth round when we got him. And I think it was pretty great, pretty good, pretty damn good value as well.
I mean, I'm just happy.
Confirm or deny, but there's a rumor that Justin Ross, the Clemson wideout, is signing with the Giants. I think that is a.
If that's true, oh my God! If that's true, that is a absolutely tremendous signing. This
I
kid would have
don't
been a
want to know.
top 10 pick at one point if he didn't.
Yeah,
get
he
hurt.
was a top receiver a year ago.
He
and
is
he didn't go out in the
immense
draft. They
talent.
didn't come out in the draft.
I don't know. I
Immense
can't
talent.
verify or deny. I just see it on a. I'm on my Giant website, and somebody is posting the signings, and apparently one of the signings is him. And to me, that's a guy that
Big
if
holiday
you know,
replacement.
coming out, if you want to take a flyer on in the second round, I'm not going to second guess it. I'm like, all right, man, he was, this great player in the second round with Robinson, who I hope pans out. It was a little different story for me. So this is interesting, man. I love this time. The UDFAs are the fun part of the draft, right? And I think we're going to get a lot of them this year.
What was that last one that Alex just posted before? A fullback that we just signed or a running back?
Oklahoma fullback Jeremy Hall, H-back. They were looking for a guy like that. So if that's true, I think he's going to fall into the tight end mix. Because we really don't have any tight ends, really. I like Bellinger. Someone said that he was going to not start. I think he's going to be the second tight end. I do, to start out.
I think Seals Jones will be the starter.
No, I think Jordan Aiken will be the starter, actually. I think Ricky Seals Jones will be the flex tight end. I think you'll see Aiken as the 1, Bellinger as the 2-3. Well, mostly the 3, but the second tight end when they go max pro. And then you'll see Ricky Seals Jones as the flex move tight end.
You don't see Wandale starting? I think Wandale might start if Shepard's not ready to begin the season. I think Wandale.
Robinson?
Yeah, I think he can come out of the slot immediately if Shep's not ready to go.
Well, I think they're going to feed. I think, and sorry, Mac, if you were going to say something, but I think they're going to run a heavy personnel at the beginning of the season with Daniel Bellinger to block to get a lot of these injured players back, and then once they get their players healthy, they'll spread it out again. Someone said it. I think it was Pat, or something like that. If you watch the offense, they're very layered. They're trying to be a layered offense, right? So they can match up against any defense out there, not just because Dable said something interesting in the press conference. He said something along the lines of, "We don't need a tight end in this offense. I'll run 5 wide, or have one tight end active." I'm like, interesting concept. That's kind of what Graham did on defense. It ended up working out, but sometimes I think you lose your identity that way. You know what I mean? When you're just like, oh, well, we're going to run 5 wides. And sometimes I think you need to build your core principles on and then go off from there,
I mean, we got versatility on, and you notice like the type of personnel they brought in here, and that's on the team right now. It's a lot of those smaller, quick, twitchy, coming in and out of their routes a lot. I mean, guys that can be moved around all on the offense. Galladay is really the only guy in terms of the wide receivers that's really just a traditional outside receiver. Like, the big, tall 50-50 outside receiver. But everybody else, Shepard, Robinson, Richie James, Tony, all these guys you can move in the backfield. You can put them in the slot. You can put them on the outside. You can put them all over the place on this offense. And Breida and Barkley, you're going to see them moving around a lot in this offense. They fit exactly what Kafka and Dable are trying to run with this offense. So you're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of movement with these players. And don't be shocked don't be shocked if you see like these receivers rotating in and out a whole lot, depending on the type of offense they get. They got Justin Ross.
He's 6'4", 205 pounds. Boy's a beast.
I'm telling you, T. Higgins. That's T. Higgins. Another T. Higgins. Another Mike Williams. He was a beast at Clemson before he got hurt.
One thing you guys were just talking about, just a couple of names you were talking about, Barkley and Breida, man. How do you guys feel about the Giants coming out of this draft without picking one of these running backs, man, at all?
I don't necessarily feel bad. That probably tells me the guys on the roster they like, and they got Antonio Williams. They're probably going to sign an undrafted rookie here in the next few days. And then they have the Burrito here as well. I think they have Gary Brightwell. So, I mean, let's be real. They're going to feature Barkley. That's probably a message more to Barkley saying, "Hey man, we're here. You're our guy. We want to use you." And then it must be, to me, it's like, all right, you got Burrito. He can do a lot of the good things that you need. And then you're probably going to not really have too many other running backs. Remember, they like to give the ball to Tony and Robinson. So I could see them being pseudo running backs, during game day. You know what I mean? So maybe they only keep 3 running backs this year because they got a guy like Robinson they're going to pencil in as a running back / flex player where they're going to just flex him around, and I don't know. I was thinking they were going to get Cook, and I was a little shocked when he went in the second round or early third. I was a little shocked because I was hoping he would fall to the Giants. I was like, man, let's get somebody that on offense. But I'm going to go with these guys, and Barkley I feel like is primed. Something telling me he's primed for a big year. So
you could just see it and hear it in his voice. Barkley is pretty much letting everybody know that he's done talking about the BS. He's done listening to everybody saying he's washed. He's done. He's not going to get it done. He's just a guy that's going to be pretty much moving on from here. He's coming out with a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to let everybody know in this league now with an offensive line, better scheming, everything. He's going to be like, you remember that dude that came out running out of the gates in 2018 and 2019? He's going to let everybody know that dude is back. And I am expecting a major season out of Saquon Barkley going into a contract year with a chip on his shoulder that he has. Watch out. 26 is going to be running wild this year, especially coming off the second year from his ACL injury. No have to worry about any rehab or anything, altering his training regimen. He gets to just come in and do his normal regimen this year. Just saying, be careful. Watch out for 26. That guy's on a mission this year. And I cannot wait to see it.
I hope you are absolutely right, Jeff and Adam, with that take, man. And okay, now I got another question for you guys, man. Which New York Giant draft pick not named Kayvon Thibodeau or Evan Neal was your favorite pick of this draft?
Bellinger.
I think the two linebackers for me.
I'm going to say Bellinger. I just like the fact that we got ourselves a tight end that can not only be a great blocker, but also a receiver as well, something we've missed from this team for years. So I'm going to say Bellinger.
I'm going to take the 2 linebackers because I think, I expected O-line at some point. A receiver I thought was going to happen. And you know what? I'll also say I'm intrigued by Robinson, right? I'm really intrigued by the 2 linebackers, but Robinson, I'm going to, I want to get, like you guys say, I want to give him a chance to see if he fits in the offense. I have my reservations, but I want to see if those reservations come true, or maybe I was just jumping the gun here. But those 2 linebackers are exactly what we needed on this team.
I agree.
Right? The Beaver kid, my God, he went to a Bearcat. I think I don't know what a Bearcat is. I think it's similar to like some type of animal, but he fits what we need. He's a Bearcat. He's a Beaver. He's a big hitter. He talks trash. He looks mean. He's looking to hit snot bubbles. And let's be honest, he played on a team that was good last year. It's not like he played on a slouch team and we're getting this guy. We drafted a guy that, and it's interesting because he played linebacker, then went to defensive end. Actually, he first was safety. Then he went to linebacker. Then he went to defensive end. Then he went back down to linebacker. So we got a guy that can move, can run, can blitz, and it brings a presence that the Giants haven't had in the middle in a long time. I think he's going to replace Blake Martinez at some point. The other guy, like Micah, he's not Micah Parsons. No, Micah McFadden. I like him. I think if you guys know who Josie Jewell is of the Broncos.
Yes, good point, Rick, by the way.
He reminds me of Josie Jewell. And I think that I think if you go down the line, this is what I'm hoping, is that he eventually replaces him, and Beaver will be the 2 starting linebackers in this defense in 2023.
And just to say this too, on like another offhand, just remember what they did with that offensive line. The fact you got Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal now protecting the outside, you're going to see a lot of 5 wide receiver sets. You're going to see it with this offense that David likes to deploy, so don't be shocked.
Who are the 5 wides right now?
I would say Barkley. He's going to probably be spread out wide. You're going to probably have Shepard. you're going to have Tony, you're going to have Robinson, and you're going to have Galladay. And that's going to be your 5 wide main personnel out there with Barkley being also in the slot maybe or on the outside. You're going to see it a lot. That's going to be your main personnel you're going to throw out there. Maybe you could even switch Breida in if you want to have him on some passing downs instead of Barkley, or even Bellinger. Since Bellinger can also go into the inline, you could throw him out there on some passing downs. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot more 5 wide side. On who?
I'm Bellinger. I'm interested to see our first tight end that we had that not named Evan Ingram. I really hope he lives up to the hype that we're saying, because I really think this guy, like Max said, is very athletic. You watch his tape and you're seeing him catching balls and running downfield for big plays. Like a young, spry, people are going to hate this name, but like a spry version of Kyle Rudolph, what we were hoping we were getting, right? A guy who's going to be a red zone threat, box out player, can help in the run game. That's why he's so good. Help in the run game.
Oh, and by the way,
that's why I was going to say Bellinger is also kind of maybe my favorite pick, other than the obvious two, because I think this kid has a stigma on him of just being a blocking tight end, and he's just really, really not. He definitely is the whole package. I think we really got to steal, and he has the potential. I don't want to hate throwing big names out there like there was George Kittle type names, but he has that potential to ascend to a high level in the NFL, man. Especially with the way this team appears to be trending, man. I'm really satisfied how we came out of this draft right now. And I'm excited to get this rest of this off season going and getting pushing towards the season, man.
And just to answer Rick's question real quick, I know he mentioned, says he wanted to maybe think about trading Bradbury for a center. Number one, it sounds like that they're thinking about trying to maybe rework something with Bradbury and try to find a way to keep him on this roster if it is possible. And in terms of a center, we might have just drafted our potential future center, because this Joshua Ezuubu, he apparently has played center before in North Carolina, and maybe if he wants, they could have him work a little bit at the center position. So then there you go. You could have your future center right there with this kid. And if Lemieux ends up coming back from his injury, he's also been working as center as well. So, I mean, you got options at the center position for some young guys as well. So we might not have to go out there and acquire a center or trade for a center or anybody.
Alex dropping some breaking news in the comments, man. Smoke Monday to safety headed to New Orleans, man.
That's unfortunate. I wanted him, but I that's why I like the UNC guard. It's not may not be one of the well-known guards that you studied, but it was what I was saying to people before. This guy is a solid player that can come in and be a starter for you. You got Evan Neal, and look at these guys. By the way, all the guys they got are big linemen. We're not talking about no, skinny dudes. These all are 320 plus guys that we're talking about. It shows me they want to run downhill, be a physical football team, and run it down your throats, and then be able to do what Jeff said. Hey, we're going to go 5 wides on you. Imagine this, right? Robinson, he goes in motion, right? 3 wide out. There's 3 wide out there. You got Tony at one and Galladay at the other. You have Daniel Bellinger, and then you got a Robinson kid on there as well, right? And maybe you have now you bring the Robinson kid in motion, right? You're not in spread, you're in motion. And this guy, your offensive line finally opens holes where this little jitterbug can find a crease and go, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can do 5 wide and do the same play, but everyone can see it. Well, my point is there's so much versatility going on. I'm loving it.
Yeah, you're telling me right now if you don't even include Bellinger and you leave him in more as a blocker, if you go 3 wide, do you think there's a lot of teams out there that are going to be really happy when they see 5 wide and you have Robinson, Tony, Barkley, Galladay, and Shepard on the outside, where all those guys are capable of winning their one-on-one matchups? You think it's going to be very fun for teams to try to match up against that, have their personnel against all these guys that can't win their one-on-ones, especially with Barkley, Tony, and Robinson being the way they rack up yards after the catch like crazy? They're not going to have a fun time trying to guard this team if we can get the protection that we think we're going to be able to get with this improved offensive line. So just be ready. This offense might be a lot more explosive than it has been before. It's going to probably take some time for the offensive line to begin to gel and for these players to learn the playbook. So it could be rough at the beginning of the season. But as we make it into like games 4, 5, 6, maybe towards the middle of the season, this offense might really come together, and it could be really scary.
Well, that's what I think is going to happen. I think I do believe that it's going to be a rough go out the gate. I know that they're talking about all these, OTAs looking good and everything like that. That's fine when you're playing against your defense that's scripted, your defense that's not playing hard, and your defense that's not trying to take your head off on the other side of the football. Mind you, this is a good segue into the rest of the draft, right? There are some teams like the Jaguars that we play on the schedule that are going to have now Josh Allen extended, and let's see, Trayvon Walker. So teams are getting better that we're at the bottom end of this draft to have picked players that are going to help them. The Giants' first two players in this draft for me are cornerstone players. They are guys that I'm hoping is going to be here a long time. Guys that I'm excited about that I haven't been this excited about picks in a while for the Giants. Like I said to somebody last night.
More breaking news: Christopher Hinton is signing with the Giants, a defensive lineman. We got another D lineman coming in.
This is a great draft because Kayvon Thibodeau for the first time was a defensive player that was taken since JPP. And I went through the draft list, I think with somebody on the phone last night on every pick from now until then. And this is Kayvon Thibodeau is the last defensive player we took in the first round since 2010, right? Well, I shouldn't say defensive player, defensive lineman that high, like a linebacker or a defensive end since him, an impact player. Now, I'm not counting Dexter Lawrence, but Prince Amukamara you had, and JPP and Dexter Lawrence. Those are the only three guys, and none of them are impact. The only one that was JPP. So for me, I'm just like, wow, we're trying to restore the glory of the Giant old days, right? We're bringing in a guy that people are already mentoring with Michael Strahan. He wants to learn about the history of the Giants and become a pass rusher in the great ones. He's already praising Azeez Ojulari, who by the way, looks like he's a man on a mission. Okay? Like, we got Kayvon Thibodeau. I feel bad for the people who are going to play Azeez Ojulari this year because that guy looked like he played like he was carrying boulders this offseason, man. I don't know if they're feeding him down in Georgia, but jeez.
Hey, good luck against those two. And then don't forget about Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence.
He is who I think is benefiting the most from Kayvon Thibodeau.
Dexter or Leonard Williams?
Leonard Williams is going to be benefiting the most, because Dexter Lawrence will finally play a position that he can play. Like, I hate this, I think we're going to play a 4-3 hybrid of some sort, but Dexter Lawrence is not going to be – he's going to be a nose or in the middle somehow, right, where we can utilize him against guards. But Leonard Williams, having Kayvon Thibodeau to draw that double team and Azeez Ojulari to eventually draw a double team is going to leave you one-on-one. And this is where he's going to probably earn his money. That's how I feel. He's going to earn his money this year. You're going to see a rejuvenated Leonard Williams with those two guys on each side of him.
5 names that all you have to do is just think about on the Giants right now and smile. Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney. 5 cornerstone players on this team right now that you can sure-handedly believe that they should be with this team going long-term. And you can even, if it's possible, if everything goes okay and things smooth out, Kadarius Toney, you could maybe add him in there. Wan'Dale Robinson is probably going to be here. If he comes out of the gate pretty strong, that's another kid you could add to this core. They're starting to get some foundational pieces in here. Maybe some of those other mid-round picks, if they, maybe it's going to be a little slow doing for them in their first year, but they could be also some other players that they might keep. And the one thing that I've said, one of the first things that Joe Shane said that made me smile so much, and every single one of us that made us smile, is the fact that Joe Shane is not going to go out there and spend a whole lot of money on these free agents and blow off the cap like that. He wants to keep his own and sign his own players, which is the one thing that this Giants organization has been lost for years. And Adam, you brought it up earlier on Joel and Pat's stream, the fact that we haven't signed any players in the last 5 years besides Sterling Shepard and Odell Beckham Jr., who only lasted 1 year on that deal. So that's the thing that makes me smile the most, is the fact that they're going to try to sign their own and try to keep these pivotal players that we have drafted that turn out to be very good players on this team. That's what we have wanted as Giants fans, to keep your own. And that's how we won in the previous when we won in 2007 and 2011. It was from homegrown players that were help building this team.
Bigger man, leave it alone. Leave it alone. The girl knows what she's talking about. leave her
I was
alone.
getting ready to say. I was going to give him his only warning he gonna get, man.
No, I'm not even.
We don't do that in the chat, man. All right. At first, it was kind. I thought we was still joking around. It was kind of ha ha ha. All right, look, it's over with. It's done. No more comments directed at her that are like disrespecting her knowledge of football. She's here for a reason. She enjoys football the same way we all do. She knows
That girl
what she's
probably's
talking
got a lot
about.
more knowledge than you do, buddy. She probably has a
Just-
lot more football knowledge than you do. So please
just
get
leave it
off
alone.
her case.
So just
Get
leave it
off her
alone,
case.
and you won't get any more warnings, bro. Any more comments directed at her that's disrespectful, you just up out of here, man. That's all it is.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just I'm just very happy with what this team has done so far. And I mean, I'm seeing Alex throw in some of the names that we have signed so far as undrafted free agents at the beginning. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more moves that are going to be coming in the coming days. You know, some players that are currently on this roster that they might maybe try to shop if they can get anything for them, or maybe try to release, try to get some of their own guys in here. I'm curious to see when the June 1st comes around, what players we might try to cut, because maybe some of these other players can shake loose if we need to. This is gonna be your typical. It's gonna be the dead period now since the draft is over. But you're gonna see some player movements going around. This is pretty much most of the team that you're gonna get going into the season. But there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still lots of work to be done with this team, and we got to get ready. We got to see what this team is like when we get on the field for minicamp. Again, for training camp, preseason, but it seems like they finally have a direction, an identity, a foundation that they're building, which is the best news that we could have asked for.
Interesting, Alex. Austin Allen. Let me look into that guy.
A couple of defensive linemen we brought in, so that's good.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Justin Ross went undrafted. I can't believe it either. He was.
Can I ask you this? What was your favorite move of the draft? Like of not just the Giants, but like the entire draft itself. You know, is there a moment that you like best, a player that you wish we could have gotten, or you think might have went to a great situation? I'd love to hear guys talk.
Well, look, my favorite move was the Jets coming back into the back end of round one and pulling and getting Jermaine Johnson. I mean, that was just to me absolutely genius. And I can't say anything. It was genius. Because he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been sitting there anyway. And the way they come back in there and get another top guy to add to their very, very amazing draft that they had. My hats off to the Jets, man. They did great things in this draft.
Or how about the Baltimore Ravens? The fact they were able to get somebody like a Tyler Linderbaum and add to that offensive line, and the fact that they have Mark Andrews already, one of the best tight ends in football, and they managed to add Kohler and Isaiah Likely to that tight end core, just make that a much stronger tight end group overall. And how about Lamar Jackson in that offense, which I think they're going to transition more to like a 12 personnel offense, if anything. I thought the Baltimore Ravens killed it this draft. I thought they arguably might have the best draft of any team in this draft so far. I thought they did a great job.
Thanks for all the breaking news with all the undrafted free agents too, Alex. Appreciate it, bro.
Makes the show live, right? Interactive. You're interacting with us right now.
Love it.
Neymar says we like that we picked Evan Neal. Everyone on this panel agrees that we love Evan Neal. You know, and I think what this draft has done, and I said it on another podcast, I'll say it here, so it takes merit to, you know, I just want to give some validity, that we have guys running the organization from outside the organization, and you can see it on the draft picks, right? With Gettleman, it was a guy who was a retread from coming to the Giants, getting cut from his team, but then the Giants not, you know, trusting anybody outside of the organization. He was here. Let's bring him back, right? Jerry Reese, he was promoted by Ernie Accorsi inside the organization. The only time we had somebody come out of the organization was Ernie Accorsi. That's where, you know, after we had George Young, who was the GM for so long, he died, and another guy came in. I think he was his right-hand man, or retired, I should say, George Young. He brought in Ernie Accorsi. So Ernie came in and was brought in as a second-hand man to George Young, then took over. And you saw how he built the team and what he wanted, a franchise guy, all that stuff. So now, you fast forward to now, you have Joe Shane and Brent Brown or something like that. Outside the organization, Brian Daboll, no real Giant ties whatsoever, outside the fact that he worked for the Patriots. So it's interesting. And another interesting fact that someone threw out there Evan Neal himself actually threw it out there. He goes, Brian Daboll was with Alabama in 2018 as the offensive coordinator, so I know the offense coming in. So that's another factor in why they probably drafted him coming out. The familiarity with the offense. You're not going to have to teach him as hard or as difficult as Ekwonu or somebody who may not have played in the offense like Charles Cross. This guy is going to know some of the terminologies, which is going to help some of the learning curve going forward. So I just like the different aspect of where we're going, and I think this team is so far taking the right steps to go in the right direction.
And that, my friends, is a premium take by Adam Costas.
Thank you.
A question to the panel, man. One for you guys, man. Who do you think out of the 4 teams in the NFC East, which one of the 4 teams do you think made the most improvement in this coming out of this draft, and which team do you think kind of shit the bed the most?
I think Dallas shit the bed. I think Dallas shit the bed big time. I don't. Their moves confuse me a lot in this draft. I don't know what is going on with that organization, but they just seems like they're lost. That playoff loss must have really screwed them up because they made some very questionable moves this offseason. And I think the Eagles did. I mean, we all hate the Eagles. We can't stand the Eagles, but I got to give them credit. Jordan Davis is a good, solid pickup on that defensive line. And I mean, the fact they got A.J. Brown. When A.J. Brown is on that field, that guy is a difference maker on the field. So that's a good signing by the Cowboys. I'll give them that. That's a good signing by the Cowboys. But A.J. Brown on the Eagles, pairing him up with Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. If Jalen Hurts could even throw it somewhat accurately to his guys, he's got 3 guys out there that are going to be problems on that offense. So the Eagles did get better too. The Eagles got a lot better. And in terms of Washington, I mean, they made some solid picks in this draft. I mean, who even knows? Sam Howell could be somebody that we could even see play at one point in this season if something happens to Carson Wentz. So, I mean, the Washington team, they did a solid job, but I think out of every team, the Giants and the Eagles improved themselves the most. And, I mean, I know Dallas just signed Lindstrom in undrafted free agency. That's a good move, but I think Dallas has made some questionable moves in the draft. So, I think they were the biggest losers in the draft.
They like Kentucky players, huh?
The Giants signed another Kentucky player?
Well, yeah. I actually agree. I do agree. I think us, the New York Giants, did probably make the most actual improvement, but I still don't think we came out of here necessarily saying we're going to be the favorites in the NFC East by no means. I believe I think the Eagles made the moves that have now ascended them to being the favorite in this division going forward for right now, at least at this stage of the offseason. I think they've now leapfrogged over top of the Cowboys, who I still believe probably are now at least second best still in the division.
Yeah.
And and you're right, Jeff. The Cowboys draft to me was a little bit confusing, especially some of their earlier picks. I think they did a little bit better, honestly, in the later rounds. But the earlier rounds, the top picks to me were a little head scratching as well. I definitely agree with you there.
I think one of the best pickups might have been the one that Alex just put on the screen. That's Alex Lindstrom. When Biotish has been very questionable at center, and you could get a player like Alex Lindstrom, who you can maybe develop as your future center, I think that might be one of the best pickups that they made this entire draft. So kudos to them for that, because their draft picks were crap. I mean, Tolbert is all right as a wide receiver. I forget who they picked in the first round. I mean, was it the kid from Tulsa, the offensive lineman?
Neymar.
You know what?
That was
Neymar. I would love it. We all would love to go 11-6. Trust us. We would love to go 12-5, 13-4, make the playoffs, maybe go on some type of run. But this team is still an incomplete team with a lot of ifs still on this team and a lot of question marks. And this team's going to have to develop. They're going to have to learn to play with each other. A lot of new players on this team, and they're going to have to learn to gel. It's going to take some time for this team to come together, and there's still holes on this roster as we speak. So it might not take 1 year. It's going to take some time for this team to get together, but they are definitely improved. Most definitely improved.
For me, I'm going to touch on it a little bit because, like I said, May the 4th, Mac and I are going to do an in-depth, draft talk about the NFC East. But I want to give you a little nugget here. I think the team from that's up I-95 from Mac and down I-95 from me is right now did the best in terms of acquiring talent in this draft. I do feel. I know that we got two of the biggest studs, but they also brought in an established receiver in AJ Brown, which changes the narrative of how you do things. So for me, I think the Eagles are doing well. As for the Giants, I just, people, I'm excited for the season, and I don't want to say don't go 8-9 or whatever the case may be that it may be, but I don't want to go 8-9 and miss the playoffs, and then be like, oh well, we have the no, just play hard, see where it falls, don't put any expectations on it, and then figure out what you're going to do next year. Because if you look at it, our quarterback may not be here next year, and if he
Hold on real quick, Adam. Hold on for a second. Bigger man on campus. You the fuck up out of here, man. You're up out of here, bro. Beat it. You're a loser.
Bye. Logan, if you're still here, block him.
I'm not even going to pay attention to some dude that's going to be a jackass. You want to be a jackass, go be a jackass.
Take that off the screen.
Yeah. Don't even like put it on the screen. It's not worth it. I mean,
first off, I want to say something, all right?
I'm
if
sorry,
you are such a big man on campus, you would understand how to talk to a lady. That's first and foremost, okay?
Yeah.
Second off, don't be coming up on our damn stream and throwing us out there, all right? I don't even know who you is or are, and I don't need to know. But Kayla's been here supporting us, just asking questions, learning, talking, giving us her knowledge. We don't need this in our chat. And I don't normally speak up, but I need to speak up because this ends right now. Don't bother coming up. Don't sub up. I don't care. Okay? I don't need you here, or we don't need you here. Kayla should be able to listen like anybody else. Knowledge or no knowledge. Doesn't matter. We're not here to measure someone's knowledge. We're here to have fun, talk about the game we love and the sports we love. And we don't need some bully who probably is sitting behind his chair in his mom's basement talking all that shit. Now let's get back to it. So anyway,
sorry about that too, Caleb. You had to deal with that in the chat. But
yeah, sorry. We firmly stand by our people, our loyalty people, and we should have stopped him early on, but like Max said, we didn't know if he was playing around or what he was doing, but obviously he's a piece of crap. So, man, they are signing a lot of offensive linemen. They have the Giants I heard they had like 16 guys coming in. And I told you guys on my video months ago, you're probably not going to remember it. I don't even remember what video it is. I don't make episode numbers, so I couldn't even be like, hey, reference this video. But I said that the Giants are bringing at least 15 guys. They're at like 16 right now. And then, we'll see.
Another offensive lineman?
Yeah, Alex said they got a Kansas State guard. So
okay.
to me,
competition, man. Bring it.
Yep.
I love it. Best five. I want the best five.
Alex, how many people have they signed so far, undrafted free agents? Do you know how many they've signed so far?
Look at UNC, yo. We are picking our players from Kentucky, UNC. We got like four guys from UNC already, 2 guys from Kentucky. We're really spreading our scouting department out. But the Giants in the old regime, it was Georgia, Alabama, back to Georgia, maybe some random school out of nowhere like Old Dominion. You know what I'm saying? UConn.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of those lower level, not really smaller school guys, but in terms of football, I guess you could say like smaller school type players.
Well,
and you can find a lot of exactly, connections, and also you can find a lot of those diamonds in some of those lesser known programs in the NCAA football.
Do you know who Max Strong is?
I like it.
Like you guys heard him? I think he was the.
Right?
I think he's the coach of UNC. I think he was the coach of Texas back in the day. And someone said that since him and Butch Davis have come to the program, they've had more guys getting to the NFL because UNC is not a big school. I don't think of UNC and Duke as, producing of great talent. They're starting to now. They produced the greatest talent for the Giants in their history, Lawrence Taylor. So I can't really, knock them for that. But when you think of football, You don't think of UNC.
And to answer Kayla's question real quickly, I do think the Giants, because of the way the division is rounding out right now, yes, they might have a chance to win this division, but it's going to be, and this is what the point I'm going to be driving home to everybody from now until the season starts. Health is going to be the key with this team. They have talent. They need to keep that talent on the field, and they'll have the chance to maybe compete. If everything goes right, they have a chance to win 7, 8, 9 games and maybe compete for a playoff spot. So yes, but health is the key with this team this year. That's
8
the
to
biggest
9
key
wins.
with this team.
My God,
It's possible they do have talent, but the injuries killed them. They do have talent on this team.
We act like we got Hall of Famers walking through the door. They haven't even played it down. We're excited about the potential of what they're going to be. But we went from 4-13. We went from 6-10 to 4-13. Now you want me to win 8 or 9 games? I mean,
because a lot of those games we were in, but we made stupid plays.
I think we do. So was the Lions.
Well, I think we need to temper our expectations for real. Seriously, we can't like drink that whole big cup of Kool-Aid. This is right now, as of right now, until we prove otherwise, we are a bad football team. Until we can prove otherwise. I mean, the draft looks good. Some of the other offseason moves, they look great so far on paper. But right now, I mean, we got to be realistic. This was, like you said, only a 4-win team, man. We can't just expect that kind of a jump. You shouldn't really expect that kind of a jump. Now, if it happens, will it be great? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But you just can't. Don't get your hopes up.
No,
to that
I'm not
level
getting my hopes up
because you set yourself up for a letdown. You know, I'm like we all were so hyped going into the season last year as Giant fans. So over the top with it, man. Like, we're going to win this division. We're going to be 12 in this. We're going to be 11 in this.
No,
we were absolute dumpster juice. So we got to, lower them expectations and just because, trust me, it was a big letdown last year, man. And we can't just get up that high again and to be let down like that again. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm hoping for the best. Look, I hope we can win 11, 12 games or something crazy like that.
No. They're not going that crazy.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going to necessarily say I expect that to happen. At least not just yet.
The thing is that's interesting for me on this front is that I see a lot of players, a lot of teams get better. It's not like the Giants drafted Kayvon Thibodeau and the draft ended, and that was it. You drafted the best player. Bye. Good night. Good night, the lights. We don't know who's going to pan out or what. We don't know anything from a hole in the wall because we're trying to project and say, oh, well, this is going to happen because we got this. We have no idea. Like Jeff said, injuries can derail a system, but there's also the other teams that we play, right? When the schedule comes out May the 12th. They're going to have when we play the teams. And that's going to probably give you an idea of what may be happening in that game. For example, if we're playing Detroit, later in December, maybe Detroit doesn't want to win that game because they're going to be the top seed if they lose, right?
Yep.
And they'll get the pick of the litter in terms of the quarterback that they may want. But if you're playing Detroit in September, that might be a game that you thought you might lose, but maybe they're trying to build something coming out the gate fast, right? So we have no idea what the narrative is going to be.
I never nobody construe what I said. I'm not one of those people that's going to go out there. I'm not going to go out there and say, "Oh my God, we got all these great players. We're going 11-6, 12-5, 13-4." No, my expectations are the same as you guys. I am tempering my expectations. I am just saying that they do have talent on this team. And that's why I'm saying if they can stay healthy and they can gel, and with some of the moves they made on this team, if things go their way, it is not out of the question with how wide open this NFC is that they could win 6 to 9 games this season. Is not.
I agree with you. The 6 to 9. I think 7 is my max here. I think Kayvon
Thibodeau. I will
Thibodeau.
take that. I will take 7 wins.
Evan Neal and Kevin Thibodeau give me 2 more wins. So maybe I was thinking 5, 6, but now I'm at a hard 7. I'm like, I think this team will get in that because of a guy like Thibodeau maybe being a closer and closing out one of these games. But what I'm hearing is that if everything goes right for the Giants, there's a chance. What I'm also hearing is that if everything goes right for every other team, there's a chance for them to beat us, right?
You're
So
absolutely right.
the same thing can be said across the league. My thing is when I look at teams, I look at rebuilding. Winning is a good thing, but sometimes, Buko that most people know about that we've talked about, he and I have conversations all the time, and he goes, Adam, you don't want to have fool's gold the first season. And what he means by that is like you don't want to just be good now, and then the next year in 2023, you're crappy, right? Because
2016.
right, so you couldn't be a good team because you weren't really a fully finished product. So if I'm the Giants, I try to get my best evaluations out there. If at the beginning of the season you end up stumbling out the gate and you're like what 0-4 or 1-3 or 1-2-5 or something like that because the offense is just struggling.
Still there, Adam?
Adam?
It's like might have lost him.
We might have lost him. Yeah.
For a second.
No, but I mean, like it. I'm just not going in. We're all not going into this season with like expectations that we're going to go to the Super Bowl, we're going to make a long playoff run, even become a playoff team. We're just saying that we did improve our roster. We do have a little bit more optimism because it seems like we have a regime that knows what they're doing. They're putting together a stronger depth on this roster than we've ever had before. We're going and attacking the two places that we should have been attacking in years previous, and that's the trenches. We're strengthening up the depth on those positions and all around the roster. But it's really just about the health on this team, how quickly they can gel, and also about, how the young players on this team especially can, progress, get better, and develop. And it's only going to help this roster going forward. So that's the reason why, there is some optimism that if things do break right, this team could become a 7-9 win team. That's it. We lost Adam.
Hey.
No, he's back. He's back.
There he is.
Sorry, the internet in these areas freaking stink.
That's New Jersey for
you. You can go ahead and finish your thought, Adam, if you want, man.
Oh, I was just saying, we always sit here and just go over the schedule and say this is a win, that's a win, this is a win. We tend to forget that the other teams are out there drafting. All right, you can't tell me the Jaguars are not going to load up Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker up against our offensive line, who, let's be honest, isn't very good, isn't proven, right? Who John Feliciano? All right, he played guard, now he's playing center. Right, Golowinski, we know is a solid player. The left side, we have no idea. We have no idea when these guys are going to gel. It takes time. So I don't want people to be like, oh well, if they go out to 2-4 start, they're going to be a bad team. You want them to get the growing pains out. Okay, yep. That's what you want.
No, you're absolutely right. Get the growing pains out. It's going to be painful probably at the beginning of the season, but we can maybe start seeing what this product and how the things really come together as the season goes on. Just look at the Chiefs. Chiefs were not a good offensive team. Mahomes was turning the ball over like crazy because their offensive line was not completely gelled yet after putting together an entirely new offensive line. And by the middle of the season, when they finally started to gel, you notice that offense was starting to become what they were before, and Patrick Mahomes' turnovers started to go down pretty well. So, I mean, it's going to take time for this team to come together on both
8 or 9 wins. Jeez. Guess the rest of the
coming together. Speaking of this team, man, one of our obvious biggest stories of the entire offseason, and it's still a story, and nothing is still happening even through this draft, is what is going on with the James Bradberry saga, man. Are we going to cut him? Is he going to stay?
I don't think they know.
We're going to find a trade partner. What is going on?
I think they're waiting until the beginning of the year. Let him play the year in the establish his value, and then trade him for next year. Because right now you have no ammunition to move up in the draft next year. You're going to need draft capital. So if you let James Bradberry play, and let's say someone's giving him a 4 right now, and you play and you can get a third, that third may be parlayed into another third and another second and a first to get your quarterback. So that would be my thinking. Tear up the contract, re-sign him for 1 year, reestablish his value, get rid of him halfway through the year. And I do the same thing with a guy like Barkley. If Barkley's having a great year and you guys are in the middle of the playoff hunt and you know he's not going to be here, get something, because if you believe in the quarterbacks next year, you got to do something to get some ammunition to move up in the draft.
You know who I'd actually think about also could be a guy like that? Maybe Kenny Galladay. If you don't think he's going to be here and he has maybe a good start to his season, you could get any type of value for him. Maybe you trade him away if you don't think he's going to be here after this season. So you got to think about all those guys. Any guy, especially if the team is not off to a great start, but some of these players are showing, they're off to pretty good starts during their season. And you can get any type of value with them that you know are not going to be here. Maybe trade them during the season. Anything's possible right now for the guys that you know are not going to be here in 2023.
And there's a lot of people on the roster who just not only not going to be here because of trades, but at the end of the day are not going to be here because their contracts are running out, right? There's there's a lot of guys that are signed 1-year deals, right? So next year we might still be looking for our center. And what I like about these draft picks here are the developmental pieces, meaning they're grooming guys. The second pick from North Carolina is a guy that you see has talent. He may not be a starter now, but maybe he's a starter down the road if you trade Lemieux or Golowinski, leaves via free agency after his contract's up. This is how you pipeline your way to being good, because what happens is you draft these players, they go through your system, and then before you know it, all the guys in your team are drafted guys, right? They're not guys that are going to be brought in 10, 15 free agents to try to bring in and stopgap it. So, I like the draft after overall. Joe Shane and I think Brian Daboll are heading us in the right direction. There's only one pick that I'm scratching my head about, really, and it's a wait and see for me. I'll take your guy's word that he's good.
Mondale?
Yes.
I think he's going to be good. He's actually, besides
Mac, you laughing at me?
Favorite pick. I think that's one of my favorite picks.
I'm laughing because I know how strongly you felt about it last night. Obviously, we were in communication, so I know how strongly. But like I said, I just want to put my trust into this regime because they're brand new. They've done a lot of things that I like, and I just want to see their vision play out and see how it pans out, man. Because they could be, like I said, they could be mad scientists, man, evil geniuses, bro. Let's see, man. I mean, it just might. They might just know what the others don't. I mean,
yes, you did hear.
They were part of a successful turnaround in Buffalo, man. Buffalo was in the dumps for a long time, man, and they really brought that team back up to relevance, where now they're the cream of the crop in the AFC.
It took a couple of years too for them to do that. It took them a couple of years for them to beat that team. But Adam, in terms of Robinson and what his role might be, just think of Kansas City. Think of Tyreek Hill, think of Mecole Hardman, and the types of players that were over there, and the types of players now we have here. We have those two guys in Tony and Robinson, the same exact type of players that Kafka had in Kansas City. We have over here that fit the system. That's why he's here.
Well, yeah, and Buko's like, Adam doesn't trust me. He's good. I feel you, Buko. We had this conversation. You know me. I called you up right after, saying, "What in the mother?" And you were like,
pissed, yeah.
He's like, dude, you need to calm down. He's, because the thing is, I'm not pissed at the guy. I want the kid to do well. I'm more just shocked because I thought he could be a guy that you could have gotten in the third round. I probably wouldn't have been. I just thought second rounder. Why do?
Well, man, how about crazy? None of us win the MVP.
How about we flip it like this, right? If you took Wan'Dale Robinson at the corner pick, right, and picked the corner in the second round, let's say Andrew Booth Jr. in the second round. So you had Andrew Booth Jr., the kid from North Carolina, and Wan'Dale Robinson. I wouldn't have been as upset with the pick, right? But the second round, I was just like, we had so many more other guys valued at a higher spot. But like I said, I'm going to take you guys' word for it. I'm a little concerned about his height. At 5'8", 177 pounds. That's the only thing I worry about. But hey, listen, I don't mind eating crow when players do well. That is not. I'm a humble guy. I will be that guy that said, yes, I am wrong. I don't care about being right. I'm giving you my how I feel, the realness of it. Realness, real talk. I was through the roof of this pick. I was, oh my God, what are you doing? After talking to Mac, talking to Buko, talking me off a ledge, doing some research, I'm starting to warm up to the idea, because when you think about it, Jeff's right. They're bringing in identity from Kansas City, and this guy kind of fits what they're doing. He fits what the Bills are doing. I said last night he could start out as a McKenzie and then end up being a Beasley type, right, where he learns more routes and becomes more defined. And Kadarius Toney could be your Stephon Diggs, right?
I'm just to say too, yeah, and you just said it right there. Buffalo Bills comparison to what the personnel we have right now in terms of this. Robinson is your Isaiah McKenzie. Shepard is your Beasley. Tony could be your Diggs. Galladay could be a better version of Gabriel Davis. Bellinger could be your Knox. Richie James could be like a Emmanuel Sanders type, like a veteran out there.
That's the guy, Richie James. That's the guy that I was thinking about last night, who they brought in to do the exact same things this kid's going to be doing on the field. And I get it that we have no receivers basically past this year, so I understand the receiver pick. Again, imagine George Pickens and Kadarius Toney. You have a guy with body and size and speed with Kadarius Toney who does exactly the same thing. Now, again, I don't want to. This is my other thing, and maybe I'm crazy, but the redundancy of the receivers kind of annoys me, right? I feel like you're getting the players to do the same thing. You're not leaving much to the imagination. We know Robinson's going to do this, we know Tony's going to do that, so they'll just gear their defense towards it. Now you have Galladay, you have Pickens, you have all these guys out there, and they all do different stuff. I don't know, variety. I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I just. Maybe guys in a few years, I'll be saying, hey, Mac, hey, Jeff, Wan'Dale Robinson, I was wrong about, but I just have my reservations.
I mean, one more thing I throw out there, man. Don't forget, Saquon Barkley is a pretty accomplished receiver as well. You
Absolutely.
can split out and do a lot of different things with him as well in the pass game. So,
but see, that's why I think we needed a running back, because I would love to have him on the field and then a running back on the field as well, like him and Burita at the same time, like Burita in the backfield and Barkley split out wide. I mean, you could do so many things.
Antonio Williams, we don't even know what this kid could bring to the offense too. I mean, he was with the Bills last year. Maybe this kid
he's going to be a banger.
Yeah, he could be the banger on this offense. Pause. But he could be like that type of player that we have on this offense too. And I mean, I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see what Richie James could bring to this offense. That guy has talent. When he was healthy, he has talent in the return game. He could be a speed guy that could take.
We'll answer Neymar's question.
So, I mean, in terms of Neymar's, there's two questions before. The first one he said about, are we keeping Tony? I think yes.
Yes.
But for now, maybe they have something in the works in the future.
I think this move
out with him. But yes, I think we are keeping him for now.
Let me ask you this before we answer the tight end, because I like the tight end, but and Mac, I want to get your thoughts again on the tight end for Neymar. But before we do that, let me ask you this question. Do you think Robinson makes Tony expendable at some point?
Mac?
I think it could be. I think that could be a possibility as well, because and that's why I'm also okay with bringing a guy in with such a similar skill set. Because in the event that it's not all it's not all smoke and mirrors with Tony, and that he is maybe not focused on football as much, and we had to part ways with him, then we got another guy that can come in and pretty much do everything that he can do anyway. So and he'll already be here. So that's another positive I feel about the Robinson signing, man.
And one thing about the Robinson signing too, you have to think about it as well. I mean, this whole entire wide receiver room can be pretty much cleared out after the season. Shepard's a free agent; he might walk. Slayton might not even be here the coming weeks. He could be traded or cut. Galladay's a cut candidate after the season. If he doesn't produce with the way they feel, they could get rid of him in that big salary. And even Tony, if Tony really has these many questions about him, and the fact that we drafted a guy that has similar skill set, Tony could be out of here as well. And I mean, so Robinson, I feel, is like that guy that you're going to have on this team moving forward is going to be that one playmaker that if Daniel Jones is our quarterback or whoever it is the next quarterback coming in, you at least have a playmaker like Wan'Dale Robinson. He's going to be here moving forward. That he could lean on, can be that safety valve or the middle, can be that ultimate number one playmaker that you need in this offense. So I think about that too.
I think it's time to open it up to some people in the chat, see if they want to come in and give their thoughts about it. I know one
guy that's going to want to come on.
I know one guy. Yeah, I think the Miz is going to want to tell us how much he's in love with Kayvon Thibodeau, but we don't normally do that on Premium Takes, but this is a big topic. We know you guys want to get in. You got questions for us or things you want to just discuss. I think, Mac, whenever you're ready, drop the link in the chat, and we can get some of these crazy fans, these fans that have stuck with us for 2 hours talking sports, get your thoughts on the NFL draft.
Nimar, Miz, Rick, any of you guys that want to jump on and
Let us
let us
know.
know how you feel.
We want
Just
to
to
hear
answer,
you.
just to answer Nemar's question real quick, I did absolutely love the pick of Bellinger in the fourth
I
round.
love that shit.
I
Oh,
think
me
he was
too.
I think
Love
he was
it.
kind of a steal. I think he's a more well-rounded tight end than people give him credit for. So I love the pick. And James Davis, thanks for stopping in. I've never seen you here before, and I
Thank
appreciate
you,
you stopping
James.
in. If you're a first-time viewer, man, please subscribe
Please
to all everybody up here on the screen. Links in the description. I'd appreciate it if you could, man. We putting that work in for you, premium takes, man. But I'm about to drop
Alex,
that
jump
link.
on.
I'm
Jump
about to
on.
drop that link in the chat
Yeah.
real quick. If you want to come on, share your thoughts on the draft, you're more than
Ask us
welcome to,
questions.
gentlemen.
Get our thoughts, whatever you want. We're here for
Oh, yeah.
you. We're giving you this show is fire tonight. We have the NFL draft on, and I know you guys love it. I know you guys have been itching to talk to us. So let us hear you. Let us hear you.
Yeah. Come on down. Let's go. Let's hear
You're
your
the next
opinion.
contestant on Premium Takes Live.
Let's go.
And by the way, James Davis, I do agree. The Chiefs did do a really good job in the draft. Where I'm
Yes,
getting
they
the
did.
feed from. I'm getting background noise from somewhere.
No, that was my mints. Sorry.
And I agree
I
with
need-
Miz.
I need
Ravens,
Miz to
Eagles,
talk to me.
Jets, Lions also had good drafts as well. So I agree with him 100%. I think the Texans did a good job as well. I
You
really
know,
like the Texans draft.
Who were the Patriots drafting? They were drafting people from the moon. Like
I think
I'm like, what are you doing?
Belichick's losing his spark.
I don't know, man. I was talking to Buko and I was like, man, do you think Belichick has a plan? Because like this guy is drafting guys that we probably wouldn't have touched to the third or fourth round, and
Yeah.
he's getting them in the first and second. It's like, does he know something that we don't? Is it because whatever offense he's going to run, these guys fit? Because Belichick has an eye for different players in different ways. Meaning, like, we think, oh, size, speed, but he's like, this guy does this well. Maybe I'll draft him because I want him, and he does this well. Are we missing something?
A couple of Vance in the chat. Justin, how y'all doing, man?
Vance, how you doing, man? Buko, you got to be on cloud 9 too, because your Jets arguably had maybe one of the best drafts too.
What's going on, Alex, man? How you doing? Thanks for stopping
Alex,
in,
man,
bro.
get older so we can get that beer, man.
Yeah. What's going on, Alex?
I did something with beer this weekend when we selected Neil, but I'm not going to go any further than that.
Oh my God, Neil, let's go, everybody, woo!
I promised the content creator that I would shotgun a Miller Lite if we selected Neil, and I did that, but made sure that I obviously wasn't caught or anything. But
Listen, we everything's cool here, man. You're just
course.
celebrating a draft pick.
Of course. And I was with a bunch of drunk Jet fans that night, so I think I needed one. Yeah. I mean, it was funny though, because some Jet fans were pissed when they got Sauce because they wanted Thibodeau so bad. And then a few picks later, I was screaming for Evan Neal, and a couple of people were like, yeah, get this guy the fuck out of here. But overall, I think the Jets had a really good draft. I mean, I think they need another linebacker, but other than that, they seem to really have all their needs set in place. As for the Giants, I know obviously there's some day 2, day 3 picks that are a little bit questionable. You know, some people want this, some people want that, and I understand. I actually, to be honest with you, outside of his name, I didn't know much about Wendell Robinson when he was picked. I think it's not that people don't like the picks. It's just they don't like the value where those players were picked. And also,
Thank you.
to counter that on the other side as well, there was a crap ton of wide receivers being taken very early.
Right.
Jahan Dotson to the Commanders, Tyquan Thornton to the Patriots a couple of picks later. So, I mean, I definitely understand both sides of the story. My favorite pick from yesterday was definitely Cordell Flott. I mean, I do like this Azudu guy.
Really?
Yes, Chris, I was with the Jet Lounge. I was with Sack. I was with Anthony. A couple of cool guys there. My brother dragged me to it. But Cordell Flott's probably my first favorite for yesterday, because it's not that just he can play the slot. He can play a little bit of outside, and he could also play the safety as well. Zudu I like. He could play tackle. There were times at UNC where he would start first down at left guard and move to tackle on second down, which was really interesting. And then for today, I really like the Micah McFadden pick. That was my favorite. He's athletic, he can cover, and I think he could be a steal. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Wow. Well, I like him as well. I think he's Blake Martinez's replacement, to be honest with you. I think and then the kid they got after him, Beavers, I think he'll be slotted next to McFadden at some point if they develop him right. Because, if you look at Beavers, he's got all accolades. He's got some pretty good accolades. He was in the Jim Thorpe, not Jim Thorpe. He was in the Butkus finalist for the best linebacker in the country. So it's not like you're getting some slouch here. And he was on a team that was 13-0. They were until they lost to, Alabama, or Georgia, whoever they played. But my point is that you got a good guy here from a good program. They had how many guys from Cincinnati went drafted this year, right? You have Kobe Bryant, you have Sauce Gardner, you have Jerome Ford.
They had like 6 or 7 guys, I believe.
So
Cincinnati did well in this draft.
That program, to me, you're going to be dipping in that program, and I'm excited for guys like that because he's going to come in and want to win. He's not going to want to lose, right? I came from a winning program. Now I'm not going to want to lose. So I like the edge of these two players. But Alex, anything else you got for us? I don't want to.
Alex, what do you think about the tight end that we picked up, Bellinger, and also the safety, Benton?
I like the pick. I mean, I didn't have too much of an idea who Benton was, but I did find it interesting, and maybe this is no connection in between. But a few years ago, when Martindale was still the defensive coordinator in Baltimore, they picked the safety from Iowa by the name of Geno Stone. So I'm going to do some research and see if they have any similar skill sets. But I know Belton's very versatile, which is something they obviously looked for, in this whole draft process with the defensive backs and whoever. So I'm really excited for Belton. And as for Bellinger, I just come home. By the time, because I was doing something this morning, I just came home and I saw the Bellinger pick. I'm like, this is a good pick. And also the other guy we got, Austin Allen, and our tight end, I think, is probably this could obviously be a stretch, a little bit of a weakness in terms of blocking right now. Like Allen, I think, can block. Bellinger can block. The other two guys really can't block. Akins can catch. Ricky Seals-Jones can catch. So it's going to be interesting to see who can do both and who can make the roster in early September, late August.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. I loved Bellinger. I talked about him since the combine. Like I said on here, he was the only one that didn't get beat up by the blocking dummy when you watch the combine. So he kind of got on my radar then. He did have a good Senior Bowl. And then you hear about what they didn't do in San Diego State, and he even said it as well in his post draft interview. He was like, "I have athletic ability. I can make catches. I can make plays. I can get open," and that shows. And I think the Giants need a tight end. Like I think his comp would be a Dawson Knox. He's similar athletically to him. Can block, can catch. Is basically an all-around tight end. So I really like him. So I agree with you there. I think he's going to change it. I don't know about this Austin Allen kid. I'll have to do some research on him. Right now, I'm looking at him and I'm reading a little about him. I think he's a guy that 6'9". It's a pretty big dude. So we'll see.
Maybe practice squad him maybe if that's the case. Develop him on the practice squad for.
That's what I'm looking forward to, the UDFAs, because that's what I want to see, the development. That's how we're going to know if this coaching staff is good or if this coaching staff is just another staff that's going to be fired. Because
don't forget about that kid from Nigeria too. Do not forget about that offensive lineman we signed from Nigeria. He's a big dude as well that they're going to probably stash on the practice squad and develop.
Yeah,
so don't
but I'm sure he's a major project out there. I feel like he's probably a big major project.
He needs some weight. He needs to eat. They're going to put him on an eating program and be like, listen, boy, you need to get some bigger muscle and muscle mass. But I want to see, like Kayvon Thibodeau, right? He has a quick first step. What is the D-line coach going to do with that piece of clay, right? With that guy who has so much talent oozing out of him. And I'm shaking right now because I'm just so excited talking about that guy. Because for the first time, we got a superstar on defense. A guy that even if he plays at his floor is going to be good.
Yeah.
Right? Even if he plays at his floor, he's better than probably most of the defensive players out there. So if he plays from there and then maximize to a ceiling, my God, the sky is going to be the limit. And in New Yorkers love defense, right? So if he gets good, Strahan will take him to where he needs to go to build his brand. He's already talking in the media. I feel like in 10 years, when this guy's career hopefully is still going, but getting closer to finishing, he's going to be in the media like Chris Canty or whatever, because he just got that way of talking to himself. So, hey, man, I'm glad he's on this team. And you know what he brings? And a lot of these players they bring a dog mentality, a swagger. Some of the Giants have lacked. They look like churchgoers these past, few years. They couldn't do anything wrong. We can't misstep. Oh, my God, we can't say anything bad about anybody. No, go out there and fight. I know people don't like Kadarius Toney, but when he was punching Cowboys in the head, I was like, let's go. Let's go beat somebody up. Let's kick somebody's ass from start to finish.
Exactly.
Let's not sit here and give points away. 2 minutes of a half, that's over with KT. You're going to see that being over. The quarterback's not going to stand back there for 2 minutes waiting. You know why? Because Kayvon Thibodeau's coming for your ass.
And Azeez Ojulari on the other side. Don't forget about that dude, too. You got two guys on each side coming after you. And you got Leonard Williams on that defensive line. No more double teams for Leonard. He's going to get one-on-ones now with Thibodeau and Ojulari on the outside. And Dexter Lawrence also up the middle. Teams better watch out. This Giants pass rush is going to be ferocious. Way more ferocious than it has been in the past. Just because you got Azeez Ojulari, who looks much bigger than he did before. Looks like he's ready to even come off an even bigger season than he had his first year. And you got an absolute superstar, game-changing player on that defensive line on the other side. Kayvon Thibodeau. That's automatically going to make this defense that much better just with his presence on the field.
Just real quick, Coach Egg, I really don't know much about it, so I don't know how to help you there. I'm sorry.
NFL Game Pass might give you access to all 22 film. They allow you to watch the games. I may be wrong here, but I've heard that if you have to buy it, right, to get that.
Yeah,
that
it's like
feature.
$100 a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I almost bought it once, but then I realized I didn't want it that much.
And not too much. She won't be able to hear, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's like
$100.
Oh, here he is. Here he is. Here's the Miz.
I mean, it's good. I almost bought it once.
He's here.
You gotta lower your volume. You can't listen through YouTube anymore.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go.
Come on,
we're a professional organization here. We're trying to run.
If I want to say something, because I want to let Miz talk, and I would love to hear Miz's thoughts. I love the Tibbs pick, and I'm going to explain why I think he fits his defense. I love the way that Martindale and how he comes on this defense, because Martindale, I think, is looking past the sacks, right? You heard him say that when he came into this organization about the pressure rate, hitting the quarterback. That's what Kayvon does. And he doesn't have like the huge sack numbers, because former Giant cornerback Michael Coe went into a Jets Twitter space and said Jermaine Johnson is actually better than Kayvon Thibodeau, where I kind of disagree with that. Here is why. Jermaine Johnson, in my opinion, I think he's the player he is. He's going to be that power rusher, speed rusher, whatever, and he's going to give you the top sack numbers. Meanwhile, you look at the Giants defense, you have Azeez on one side, you have Kayvon on the other. He's going to be hitting the quarterback, causing havoc, and his ceiling is higher. So that's why I think Kayvon's better. And Kayvon said one thing, and I think this is really intelligent of him. Just tells us about the dog he is. He said, through the first three quarters, I look at the tackle's weaknesses, and I use that against them in crunch time in the fourth quarter. So, I love the Tibbs pick.
That's a quote that's a beautiful quote that you'll always love to hear from a young guy. That quote right there just gives you chills up and down the spine. Miz, the floor is yours. Let us know how you feel about this draft, about all the picks, everything. Just go at it.
You know how I feel about Tibbs, because I've been.
Julie, I'm out of the bathroom.
Someone's out of the back.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to him for a long time, and I didn't actually dream of him getting to us. So
no, we did dream of him getting to us.
I didn't think it was like reality. But for him to get to us, listen, I was jumping up and down when the Jets took Sauce as much as every Jet fan. Let's put it that way, because I did not want Sauce.
I saw the video.
Yeah, I did not want Sauce at 5, man. That's fine. I'm not saying he can't. He's not a great corner. He probably is. But I'm made of old school. And when I see an edge rusher who's a beast, a guy that has potential to be one of the greats, that's what you want. And our history shows that's what's won for us. And I think this guy's going to fit right in. And he's a lion. And when you listen to him talk, man, I don't want to label him any major names. Adam already knows because I said it earlier. But when I listen to him talk, the way he talks with the arrogance and the energy and the leadership that he talks with reminds me of a Ray Lewis, man. And if he could be anything, that type of leader, man, we're in for a nice decade coming up.
Oh, he reminds me of another gentleman with 2 letters in his name, used to play in blue. He reminds me of that guy. And I know that's lofty goals, but that's what I'm talking about. We haven't had a guy with that type of oozing out talent since that guy walked through the door back in 1981. And we haven't drafted a guy that's good since 2010 when we had JPP. So the first time in a long time you got your superstar on defense, which we've been lacking for years. I mean, we had good players, but like a superstar, like when Michael Strahan was in his prime, he was a superstar defensive end. I don't know, Alex, you're a little younger, but Mac, Jeff, they know, like, coming up, when that guy was there, he was going to Pro Bowls and he was dominant before we talked about all these edge rushers, right? An edge rusher when I was growing up was a Sam linebacker, okay? That's what it was. You were or an LT like type of Derek Thomas type of guy. We didn't call him an edge, we just called him a linebacker. It was not this terminology. But now you get a guy who's been in the system in Michael Strahan, mentoring a kid who, by the way, I don't know where these people have come up with these asinine rumors about this kid. Because when he talks, all I hear is like, damn, these people are just dumb. They just sound dumb. When every word he speaks is contradictory to what they're saying to him about at Oregon. He's lazy. He doesn't work hard. This guy wants to be the best. He wants to be the best. Right? He even said it. He's like, I want to be great. Another quote that they said, he's like, when you're sleeping, I'm working. You know what I mean? I'm working and you're getting up. I'm still working. All this type of stuff. That's the dog I want. That's the dog we need on defense. That's going to bring the pride back to this organization. Because last year, I know everybody loved the defense last year and it was fun to watch, but it wasn't what we needed to be. With this guy, it moves into that category where they can start to win us football games and get us to those 8 to 9 wins that everybody hopes for. It starts on the defensive front. Right? If you're giving up touchdowns inside 2 minutes of every half, that ain't doing nothing for us but losing football games. This guy you bring in, he's going to close out a game for you.
It only helps the guys in that back end of the defense too. Like you think Xavier McKinney's not smiling right now. The fact he's got Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, they're going to create havoc on that defensive line. The fact that they go in there, rush the quarterback, and the quarterback can throw a duck in the air, and then you have a chance for McKinney, Jackson, if Bradbury's still here, those cornerbacks and safeties to go up there and get much more picks than they had before. So, I mean, those guys are probably smiling as well. The fact that you got this ferocious, pass-rushing, game-changing player on that defensive line that you can literally build a defense around. That's a big help to that secondary as well.
Link is in the chat. Big Play Slay. If you want to come on and talk about
get Play Slay in here. Let's mix up some NFC's rival talk here. And I can't lie, man. Yeah. I think Adam might have been touching on it earlier. The Eagles have put themselves in a pretty good place.
Listen, I don't want to anoint them, but for me, of everybody drafting outside of us, they got a great haul. People are forgetting A.J. Brown is a superstar.
That's a game changer. That's a game changer. And Devontae Smith's already developing into a star receiver.
You're taking him at 18, right? That would be whatever first round pick they gave up to give him. That is essentially what you got. You got A.J. Brown for that pick, an established guy who everybody already knows, and we're hanging on to our corner probably because of that. We're like, James, maybe we can't let you leave yet. There's a guy named A.J. Brown here. We could use you. So Big Play Slay, you came on Premium Takes. Give us your hot takes on the Eagles and their draft.
And before you do play, I gotta give Logan, my little buddy here. This guy Logan, and I made
Logan understood that.
We made a Kayvon Thibodeau highlight music video like what 3 months ago, Logan. So
Logan
There you go,
has
man.
been saying Kayvon is gonna go to the Giants literally from like fucking 5 months ago. That's
He's
how
Much
Logan,
spoken into
props to you then,
existence.
Logan. Much
Spoken
props
into
to you then, Logan. You knew you were
Logan has
talking
been
about.
hyping that up. Like if
Burn
anyone
from
gets
stage.
credit, it should be Logan.
I appreciate it.
But to answer your question,
Oh, and that's all we have today for the Eagles. No, I'm just
to
kidding.
answer your question, Adam, about the Eagles, I think this put us as like a driver's seat to the NFC East. I don't want to like get overconfident and say we will win it because I like the additions some of you teams have made. Like I like the Giants draft. I like the Cowboys draft. Surprisingly, I like Washington's draft in a way. And obviously our draft getting a top 15 receiver, top 10 arguably, and getting the best defensive tackle in the draft. You got the best a top 2 linebacker in the class at 83 in the Kobe Dean. And I understand the injuries, but he himself literally said he can play through it. And how he knows
You can't play with the torn pec muscles, but
Yo, real fast, hey,
Alright.
nice to see you, Big Blue in the Bronx, bro. What's up, man?
What's
Let's
up,
get it.
Alex?
Nice to see
What's going
everybody.
on,
Alex,
Zion?
man.
BPS.
Great content creator, Big Blue in the Bronx.
Alex is doing some great things on his
Yeah,
channel.
Alex
If
is
you
a
haven't
good
already
boy.
subscribed to Big
He's a
Blue
good-
in the Bronx.
Yes,
He's doing
make sure
some
you guys
great
go
things over
subscribe.
there.
Hopefully, Logan, if you don't mind dropping his link, bro.
I got
Let's
you.
get it.
No,
The
by
one-
the way, Slay, I'm not trying to knock it. He's got injuries, but down the road, you did get a real good linebacker where you got him. Definitely.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing is, Miz, I agree with you. I feel like the reward is more higher than the risk with the
I agree.
I think you got the
And
best
also-
deep
Davis
tackle.
pick, by the way.
I just think too. I mean, Devonta Smith, I think, is going to be even more scary now because he's not even going to be the focal point of that wide receiver core. I mean, AJ Brown is that number one, and Devonta Smith, if with like devoid talent all around that wide receiver core, the fact that you have now a number one receiver that's going to take up some of the pressure on that defense, it's only going to make Devonta Smith that much better. And I think he's going to have a big season too. And
Who
Dallas
said-
Goedert as well at the tight end position.
Not only
I
that,
think the
said-
Eagles
who
are a
said
scary
one?
team on offense.
Who said we had only
you guys
2?
got like the best receiver, right? Like the 18th one pick, the 18th pick overall. You guys got the best receiver, hands down.
Yeah.
Better
Yeah, I
than
got
all
a
the rookies
question.
coming-
I got a question. Who said we only have 2 ones? We got 3 of them. I thought we got Dallas Goedert too.
Well, let's
No,
stop.
I'm
let's
talking about
stop.
like the wide receiver
Oh.
position. Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah.
Goddard's
And that's
good.
why,
Goddard's really good. when
Goddard's
he's
not an
healthy.
elite.
Well,
bro.
that means what it means is you're keeping Jalen Hurts. You're giving him your best chance to fail or succeed with all these weapons, right? Same thing. I think a lot of teams in the NFC is doing that, right? They're giving, at least the Giants and Eagles are on the same thing. They're going to give this quarterback everything they can do to fail, defensively, offensively. You know, it works both ways. You get defensive playmakers, they get you the ball back. So that, you know, Kayvon Thibodeau is not just for the defense, it's also for Daniel Jones to get the ball back to him because he'll probably give it back to the team quickly anyways. But the point is that they're going to build around Jalen Hurts, and we'll see if he's the man. No excuses now.
I mean, we signed
Exactly.
Carson Strong. I'm happy about getting Carson Strong. I'm
Right.
honestly no, like I know
won't put
Carson
anything to
Strong,
that.
like he has things to work on, but if we're gonna put him as a QB3 behind Gardner Minshew, then we expect them to compete with Jalen Hurts and
He's in the wrong era. That's the problem. He's in the wrong era of
Yeah.
football because he's a drop back passer. They comp him to Drew Bledsoe. So if any of you know who Drew Bledsoe is, some of you young guys may or
Patriot.
may
That's the
not
guy
know.
that
Yeah.
Tom Brady took his job.
he's one of the
yeah.
most underrated quarterbacks
He
ever.
was a really good quarterback too. He just got hurt.
Right. So his comp was, someone said his comp reminded him of Drew Bledsoe, and we all know what happened in 1993. The Patriots took Bledsoe over Rick Meyer, and the rest is history. But if you had him in the 90s, maybe that's a guy you take. I don't know because of his knee if I take him now. Now for the Eagles, if something were to go down, that changes your whole offense up because he can't really run the RPOs and do all the little gadgety things that Jalen Hurts does. He's a more drop back passer, drop back and just launch it.
Yeah,
Real
but
quick,
the
what do you
thing
guys?
is-
I was gonna say real quick. What do you guys think about this comment here, Buko? Because I was thinking about this too. Like the Cardinals kind of gave up a similar haul for Hollywood Brown that the that the Eagles gave up to
But who's better?
acquire a much better receiver in AJ
Oh, yeah.
Brown. And I was just curious what you guys think about that.
I
Say
think he gave up a lot.
something about that. I wanted to say one thing about that. I thought that might be the worst move of the draft, in my opinion.
For Hollywood?
Well, one of the worst. They gave up a 1, right, for Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I
they did
don't
for
think
Kyler Murray.
Hollywood's that good, to be honest with you.
I agree,
I think
man.
he is a
would've
good player.
probably
I think he is a solid player.
He's a solid player, but I think
He ain't a number 1, Jeff.
probably a
He ain't a
second.
number
He doesn't
one.
have to be. They have Hopkins. He could be the number 2. He
Yeah,
doesn't
the
have to be
thing
the number
is,
one.
the thing
One at
is,
a
you
time,
have
one at
to
a time.
understand both parties won this trade because if you look at it, the Cardinals just added Marquise Brown and another tight end in that already just great offense. And for the Ravens side, you just got to pick out of it. Either way, it's a
Their
good
offensive
trade.
line is still garbage.
That's true, but you could still fix on that. Like,
Well,
They didn't. They didn't.
I think the Hollywood Brown thing is interesting because I think it was more of a Kyler Murray, we want to make you happy type of move. Because to me, if I could have got A.J. Brown, I'm getting A.J. Brown. I'm not getting Hollywood Brown. No, too many Browns around here, but I'm not getting Hollywood. I'm getting A.J. But they did it because Kyler Murray. Notice how Kyler Murray's not asking for money anymore. They probably were like, listen, Kyler, we're going to get your guy. Just relax. Just tone it down with the money talks. And we'll discuss this later. We're getting you Hollywood Brown. How's that sound? He's probably fine. I'll be quiet and I'll just ball out with my best friend. I don't think I would have made the trade with so many receivers on the board. You've got to now pay Hollywood Brown. You just let one receiver go and Chris Kirkpatrick.
They already picked up his 5th-year option already on Hollywood Brown.
But
Arizona.
I think
so
you
he's gonna
nailed
be
it,
here.
Adam. I think they wanted him because they used to play each other in college. Play with each other
Right.
in college, and they really have chemistry.
But what I meant was the owner is making Kyler happy. We're doing everything right now to kind of say, hey, we're not going to pay you right now, but we're going to get you players to look good, and we'll talk about a contract down the road.
Yeah, and also because he doesn't have to come in and be that number 1 receiver. You already have that in DeAndre Hopkins, and you got the veteran receiver on the team in A.J. Green. So he could just come in there and fill in his role, which is be that deep threat that they lost when Christian Kirk left to go to the Jaguars. So he could just come in, be that deep threat, be the number 2 receiver on that team, and just fill in his role. So, I mean, that's why I see, like, it being a pretty solid move for the Cardinals because he has to come in and be, like, that number 1 guy and take, like, take the double team because you already have that with DeAndre Hopkins. That's your number 1 right there. He could just be the guy that can just take the top off the defense, and he could be a good
Do you have
complementary
any,
piece.
hold on, Alex? Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, the Ravens had a good draft in my opinion. I mean, they got. It's going to be interesting to see what their passing offense revolves around. They got like 2 different tight ends besides Mark Andrews. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go wide receiver, but I mean, I'm just going to be interested to see how that offense functions.
You brought in a good segue.
Yeah,
Because I want to talk about 14th pick with the Ravens, Kyle Hamilton. I think he went to a perfect situation in the draft for his skill sets. I think we were talking about this earlier. I know people don't like Kyle Hamilton, what he does. I always thought if you could make him a Troy Polamalu, I didn't think he was as athletic as Ed Reed. Ed Reed is an anomaly because no guy should run that fast and be that dynamic of a safety. That guy took a pass 100 yards to the house on a touchdown. He's crazy. But Troy Polamalu is my comp for Kyle Hamilton, and he's going to probably do some of that similar. I hate to say Isaiah Simmons type stuff, but like that line of scrimmage, money backer type of role where he can blitz, he'll drop into coverage. But I think for him to go, he went to the perfect situation there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree. I think he did go in a perfect situation.
Since we're on the Ravens, and the Ravens, they picked up Linderbaum. Am I right? So the Ravens,
he's gonna be a baller.
They pick up Linderbaum, the most perfect center. And I had a mock to the Ravens for mostly the one reason the Ravens run the ball tremendously. Like Alex was saying, I don't know how they're passing. They don't care about passing. They're going to run the ball 25 different ways. And they got the most perfect center to block on the outside in the run game.
Yep, that is very true, man. He's going to be
a lot of 12 personnel with that team. A lot of 12 personnel. Go back to what fits Lamar Jackson's skill set the best.
Go ahead, play. Big play. You had something to say?
I was saying, I was gonna speak about the Cardinals thing on Kyler Murray.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't think, and as for much as I love Kyler Murray, I don't think he's worth the money that he asked for. Like, he's not worth that Aaron Rodgers type money yet. I don't think he's worth that much because he's shown that he can, play at a high level, but not consistently. So that's why I would not pay him if I was Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think he
Yeah,
should
but
be
then
paid
what's
either.
what's the other option? They don't have any other option.
Well, the only reason he's here is because of Cliff Kingsbury. So if he fails, Cliff Kingsbury fails because that guy, he got him kicked out. He kicked out Josh Rosen, who is a bum anyways. Let's be honest. I mean, he's probably off being a neurosurgeon somewhere right now. But that's Kyler Murray to me kind of is pouting. I don't really like that in my quarterback to have somebody that pouts because he's not getting his way. You lost the playoff game in the biggest game of your career. You played like shit, and now you want me to pay you? Okay, yeah, I'll wait till you get over the hump. Now, if he won the playoff game, went lights out, and then the next game they played, they didn't play the Rams. Let's say they played the Rams in the divisional round, not the wild card, and they lost. Okay, I can say, all right, you know what? You won a playoff game, you got some money, all right, But you didn't do anything. You didn't show up. You looked like a quarterback who couldn't see over his offensive line. You need to be moved to the right, move to the left, and now you want me to pay $100 million for you to sit on the sideline and then blame everybody else? I would.
Yeah, and do you guys notice too when DeAndre Hopkins got hurt and he left that offense? How
That's
much
my
Kyler
point.
Murray
That's exactly
did
what I
not
was talking
look like
about.
the same quarterback because he lost the number one receiver. So you got to think about that too. He looked so much different when DeAndre Hopkins got hurt and he wasn't out there on that field. But
Raphael, welcome to the panel. Raphael, you got any thoughts on the Carolina Panthers draft? I know you're a Carolina Panthers fan. How do you think you guys did?
Well, right now because I just love the Lsu Corner, which is a better choice for the Carolina Panthers. And I just saw the NFL draft because the first time that I saw on the NFL draft, that was wow, that was very amazing, right? But I guarantee you that there's so many takes that I will compliment because I was really nervous and I was like, very nervous, being nervous because I was very excited to watch the draft right here. But there are some takes right here. I think the Carolina Panthers had made a good choice about Ikini Kombu because it's a really good choice right here. And of course, the New York Giants really had the jackpot right here because they had two amazing players at the draft, Kayvon Thibodeaux and of course Evan Neal for Georgia. And wow, that's a really gut shocking right here because all these Giants fans are be proud of that because they had the best players in the draft, and boy, that was very amazing. And I just saw the trade reaction about wide receiver from the Tennessee Titans, which is AJ Brown, which is, oh my God, that was the biggest blockbuster that I ever seen in my whole life because after Devontae Adams got traded by a blockbuster trade for the Raiders, right now there is another blockbuster trade, which is the wide receiver, which is a wide receiver with the wide receiver for the Tennessee
Debo
Titans.
Samuel
giving us updates in the chat while he's on air. That's what I'm talking about.
Go. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for the updates the entire time, man.
Oh, we signed Noah Ellis. Let's go.
Oh, look, he woke up.
Noah Ellis. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a very. I take that salary.
I got one more question for Raphael. All right, but I got one more question. One more question for Raphael, man. You guys picked up Matt Corral in the third round. Do you feel like he's going to come in and push Sam Darnold, maybe even get some playing time this year at the quarterback position?
Well, to be honest with you, because even though the Carolina Panthers is the team that doesn't really feel about it, but I just got informed about it. But I think they had a solution about after Sam Darnold goes for the New York Jets, and of course the comeback of Cam Newton doesn't fit well, and of course injury report Christian McCaffrey. I just understood that the Carolina Panthers need to rebuild that team, and even though I'm just learning about the football team, and I just very apologize to everybody else that I was a Carolina Panthers fan, but well, that's for my dad because I just saw the game between the Carolina Panthers versus Philadelphia Eagles because well, my dad is from but my dad's from Venezuela, which is in the Trujillo state, but he's a fan of the Carolina Panthers, and well, just so we don't know because even I got well so much information about the NFL draft, and I really loved it about these teams again drafted by the best players. Also, Big Slay had hit the jackpot because I see the reaction when the AJ Brown trade, and that was very amazing. And the Kobe Dean right now, that was freaking awesome. So
I
they
hate
got
you for Kobe.
loaded. They got loaded because even though I'm very shocked about it, and of course there'll be like
DJ
amazing.
Perry.
Yeah, we
Uh-huh.
signed EJ Perry. Yeah, like that was like
We got Justin Ross on the Giants now.
what?
You're lying, bro.
Yeah.
You're lying. Now.
What?
No,
I haven't
I'm
seen-
telling the truth.
I haven't seen anything official, no confirmation about that. I was just
No,
looking
please tell me you're
No,
lying.
no,
I don't
that's
want to
not
play
right.
Justin Ross.
I believe it when it comes from Buko. Because he delivers these type of news.
No.
Mac.
I just want to say one thing quickly about the Panthers. I think the Panthers have themselves some solid players on that offense. I mean, they just re-signed DJ Moore to a long-term deal, so they got their number one receiver. They obviously got McCaffrey still there. They have their backup running back who's very
Robbie
solid. They
Anderson,
have
Austin Corbett,
they have
Brian
Robbie. Yeah,
Allen.
they have Terrace Marshall, who's a good receiver. The only thing they have to solve, because they're starting to put that offensive line together a little bit better, they need to solve their quarterback position. And I don't think Sam Darnold is the answer, and I really don't even think Matt Corral is the answer. So I think that eventually, if they're not, I don't think they're going to be a very good team this year. So I could easily see them being one of the worst teams in the NFC, maybe even the NFL, and I could see them going for a quarterback next year and try to capitalize on the talent that they're building around that offense right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
love
not a-
that deal for us.
It's not a. It's not
The Giants
official.
got a running back named Hall.
Go ahead, Logan.
The Justin Ross thing isn't official yet, but there's strong rumors.
Yeah, they just start rumors because, well, for your information about all these, well, the people on the chat right here and the panel right here, I know about journalism because I was graduated, and I know the importance about a rumor or official information about those teams right here. Because even though I'm a journalist and well, I understood how it could be like the rumors going or the fake news or anything else. So, and well, even though I'm
a lot of feedback, bro. A lot of feedback. from your
Yeah,
mic.
your mic is shaky as hell right now.
Feed it back, baby. Feed it back.
Just don't get me too excited with that Justin Ross stuff, because Justin Ross was a top 10 player at one point in this draft when he was healthy.
Yep.
And if they could find a way to sign
what happened to
Justin
him,
Ross,
Jeff?
he had a
What happened?
No,
serious
he had a
serious
neck
back
injury.
injury.
Man. Hold up, Jeff. He had a neck injury.
serious back injury that pretty much took him
I'm
out.
watching his highlights right now.
He's
All
a
right.
beast. He's a beast.
No,
of a wide receiver.
Miz, don't watch his highlights. Watch his actual film. Like his actual film is even better.
Yeah, I will, bro. Not right now while I'm on with you guys, but I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
he
Buko's
was here.
spoken about him before, so it's not the first time.
All right,
He-
fellas,
he-
we're gonna be having to wrap this up soon. You guys got any final thoughts? Anything you want about the draft, the weekend? Get off.
Yeah, I
Any
wanna
last
say
thoughts? You
something.
can go ahead and say them now.
Okay.
I wanted to say this much. I want to hats off to our new GM, Joe Shane, man. This guy has gone out, brought in 7 new offensive linemen between the draft and free agency, okay? The thing we were most worried about, this guy attacked right away. Then he gets a tight end that's a blocker. So now you're looking at another blocker on the line of scrimmage. And he gets you clearly the lion of this draft in Thibs. And obviously Evan Neal is in the stack of linemen. So, and with Barkley healthy, I think we're going to get the Barkley we all saw close enough to his rookie year. A guy that we all really love and want to see him thrive and be here. So my hat goes off to Joe Shane and Dobble, because we finally have, I have full confidence that we have a competent, very competent football regime with a plan. And I think it's pretty obvious to us. I'm proud of the guy.
Alex?
Giants sign another
Arizona
UDFA.
Cardinals, Phoenix Suns on God. Appreciate you stopping in, man. Please don't forget to sub up to everybody on this panel. Great content creators, man.
Yeah.
Giants signed Zion Gilbert from Florida Atlantic cornerback.
Giants signed Zion Zenith from LA.
I just want to say appreciate you for having me on, Mac. Congratulations to you Giants fans, as much as I hate your team, for having a great draft. Y'all had a good draft. I think the entire NFC East had a good draft. I'm gonna just be honest. I like what everyone
Feelings
did.
mutual, Slay. Feeling is mutual.
I don't know about Dallas. Questionable.
I don't know
No,
about
Dallas
Washington.
had a good draft. I think
Yeah?
the
No,
worst
they
draft in the East was Washington, but Dallas had a good draft, bro. You gotta study on some of their players.
Right.
You gotta
I
study
disagree.
on some of their players, man. Their draft was better than what people think.
I don't know, because the
I'm
pick
not a
at
fan.
24, man, leaves you with a lot to be desired.
Bro,
Yeah.
look at what their offense is constructed to do. RPO, pre-snap motion, get the ball out of Dak's hands quick, and run. That's what Tyler Smith can do.
Well, I'm not saying I didn't say Dallas is not a good team, and probably still the leading candidate to win the division. The Eagles might give them a run, obviously, but I don't know if I love their draft compared to their last few drafts. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe
All right,
I just
let's-
like what they did for the trenches.
I want to hear Alex's final thoughts on what he thinks of this
And
whole
then we
thing.
gotta
Alex,
then we gotta let people go, and then we're gonna close the show out.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, is my final thoughts. I mean, I know there's been some divide among the Giants fan base, but I'm not gonna go against people who dislike the picks or dislike the value. Like I thought, me and Adam kind of agree about the Wandale thing, and we want to be wrong. But I don't think it's bad to dislike the value. But if you generally hate the picks and the players, I don't get why. But it's a wait and see project. It's a wait and see project. I mean, I know definitely the top two guys, Kayvon and Neil, are gonna be plugins right away, which is gonna be really exciting. But it's going to be interesting to see, who they plug in week one. And, I'm also interested to see where they go with this corner situation, because they need $12 million to sign this whole class. And that's only stuff you're getting out of James Bradbury. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Thanks for stopping coming on, Alex. I really appreciate it, man. Love your takes all the time, man.
Man, thank you for coming on the stream with us, Alex. If you haven't already, please sub up to Big Blue in the Bronx, the best young content creators in the Giants community.
Hey, I just wanted to say that before the wrap up, I just wanted to say that thank you guys for letting me in. I know it's for a short time, and well, I apologize to everybody else, because even though I'm a journalist and I'm rooting for just one team, which is not the Panthers, because well, that team doesn't fit to me, but I got information about it because I'm a freelance journalist, and I have much love for all these teams right here, like the Raiders, the Giants, and even the Eagles. Not Dallas and Washington, because they had the worst picks on the draft right here. But I just hope that, call me crazy, but there's going to be like a conference championship between New York Giants versus Philadelphia Eagles with those draft picks right here. And I just wanted to say that everybody else, much love for Capitan Rafael. I just wanted to say salute to everybody else, Mac, Jeff, Adam, and of course, Miss. Salute to everybody else.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you,
on the
Raphael.
show with
Appreciate you
us.
for coming on, man. You got any final thoughts, Miz, man, before we wrap it up?
No, I gave you my final thoughts. I basically tip my hat to our new general manager and head coach for a beginning. I love what they're doing, and I believe in them. And I'm a guy who backed up Gettleman to a point where I would even fight with people. And now that I could see other people at work, I could admit I might have been a little off or a little wrong on certain things about him. But this guy brings a fresh breath of air, man. He really does. I'm excited. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl this year, but I'm excited and where we're headed. And I think we will have, competitive football here somewhere in December. That's more than we could say for the last few years, really. 2 years ago I thought was a little bit of a fraud. So,
Jeff or Adam, you guys got anything?
Well, for me, I loved everything that they did in terms of everything that came out, the positions that they chose. Now, whether or not the players that they chose pan out, let's hope. Like Alex said, who, by the way, needs to be on WFAN. He's got the voice of a WFAN radio host. I know he's only 18, but there needs to be more talent on the WFAN scene.
Both of them. Both him and his brother need to be on WFAN.
I 100% agree with you on that, Adam.
So, yeah, we need to get out some of these guys that are there now. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying, I loved, I really loved Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm never going to not stop smiling ear to ear with that guy. Evan Neal, you know me. I loved him from jump. And if I didn't think, like Miz said, it was a dream, but it was a dream that actually came to reality, that came true, right? Those two guys. So for me, I'm ecstatic. The rest of the picks, I'll wait and see on. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for the new Giants to come in, as I am every year. And like Miz said, we have guys that seem to be heading us into the right direction. So let's let it play out. Let's let it pan out. And let's not forget that me and Mac will be going over everything NFC East this Wednesday. We have our roundup. But I'll let Mac touch more on that. And guys, great show as always. Jeff, take it away.
These are some key words you have to think about as I'm going to finish off of my point. Foundation, identity, continuity, building blocks. You got to think about those words right there that Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, Brian Dable, Wink Martindale, Mike Kafka are starting to put into place on this New York Giants football team right now. They are starting to put into place all the things that we have been looking for, what we've been asking for as Giants fans, into it feels like a new era that we actually have a regime right now that has an idea of how to build a team properly, of how to put together a team properly, and how to get a team into sustained success with a bunch of guys that they signed on one-year deals who – right now, they also drafted a bunch of guys who are going to be developmental players for at least their first year, obviously besides the first two picks that we made. And you can let these guys develop under the coaching staff, like Adam just mentioned before. Hopefully they pan out. And then you could allow these guys that you signed to one-year deals. If they don't completely pan out, you can let them go, and you can let these guys that we drafted come in and take their spots. But we actually have a direction as a franchise for the first time in probably the past 5, 6, 7 years, which is the most enlightening thing you could ask for as a Giants fan. And after the garbage that we've had to endure as a fan base for this past 5 years, we actually feel like we have some optimism, some hope, and some expectations to put on this team to hopefully we're going to be hopefully we look like we're on the way to the bounce back. So that's all I've got to say. Let's go Giants. And the things, the dark cloud over our sky seems to be finally going away.
All right, yeah, everybody. Thanks for Nimar. Real quick, I think Malik Willis to the Titans. That was a pretty good spot for him. Somewhere where he's not going to have to go in and have to worry about being a starter right away. So I think that's actually an ideal situation for somebody like him. He can develop for a year or two actually, and it might work. And it might work out. And then maybe there's a bright future for this kid after all. Coach Ed Gladney, everybody else in the chat, really appreciate you guys, man. Tune in. May the 4th be with you on Wednesday, May the 4th, the premiere issue, the premiere edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. Me, Adam Costas, breaking down the draft for all 4 of these NFC East teams. We're going to give it all to you raw, baby. NFC East style on May the 4th, man. Me and Adam Costas breaking it down. Please come and join us, man, on Wednesday. And we'll hope to see you then, man. This is your boy, Mac the Giants fan. My co-host, Adam Costas, NYG, Jeffy T. And we got, thanks for calling in, Miz. Appreciate it, man. And we up out of here. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan.